Well, hey, all you cool cats and kittens. What are y'all doing?
I think of that every time Molson Man comes in.
I know that's why I said it because I saw his. And I was thinking, I always want to say it, but then I always forget. So today I figured I would say it. Hey Mo, hey Shamira, hey Allison
Howdy.
Mind, hello Tony, hello Molson Man, hello Lupe, hello Coolest Reviews, hello, hello, hello. We're Our juror number 5 might be a little tardy. So court will stand in recess while we wait for our pal, criminality, Teresa. Tonight's, while I'm talking to you guys, do this real quick. Tonight we're going to go over one of the other, I think it's the forensic medical examiner, her testimony. Then we have a couple more of Amy's friends to go over. And then we have the Sancho to talk about. Jerry Frazier. And that's the testimony we're going to go over tonight. But real quick, I'm going to turn on subscriber only mode. So hopefully we avoid the bots, except for the bots that I guess are part of Skynet and have intelligence of their own and have figured out how to create an account and subscribe, which is a little unsettling to me because I worry about Skynet quite frequently. How's everybody doing on this Sunday evening? How you doing, Mo?
Good. I don't want to go back to work.
Want me to come over and accidentally trip you on purpose?
I took another COVID test and I was like, dang, it's negative.
I shouldn't be laughing about that.
Oh, sorry. I said the word. Dang it.
It's not saying the word on panel. It's typing the word in the chat.
Oh,
What
okay.
did I say? Forensic medical examiner. Hi, Jen. English. It's not that. It's the forensic pathologist. I know how to talk normally, just not today. All right, hold on.
Me too,
All right.
Molson. I've got money on it. I'm already mad about the Chiefs game.
Well, I figured you would be more mad about the Bills game.
Well, I was
Last
very
week.
mad about that, but I've gotten over it.
Well, I figured that's why I brought it up today because I figured last week was not going to be a good time to bring it up. So
I didn't lose too much money on the Bills, but I lost a lot on the Chiefs.
oh
It is
dear.
what it is.
So, just really quick, hey Sam, hey Amelia, I just really wanted to say again, thank you all so much for coming and celebrating my birthday with me and making those really sweet messages and the super chats and everything. It was really overwhelming and really just sweet. And I just feel so very lucky to count you guys as friends. And I was really touched. And it's very difficult for me to express those kind of emotions. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of a struggle even talking about it, but I just wanted you guys to know how much I really, really did appreciate it. I really did. Shmita made me leak, my eyes leak, and yeah, that hardly ever happens. So, hey, Salty C. All
And if I
right.
didn't reach out to you though for a message, please don't take it personally. I probably just didn't have your contact and nothing personal. I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
wanted
it's
to
a
say
little
that.
harder on YouTube. On Facebook, you can just message the person.
Yeah, it's harder on YouTube.
She put in a lot of work for it.
She did a
I kept
wonderful job, and you
I
kept it
kept
a
saying
secret.
suggestions, and she was like, "I don't know how I get touch with it."
Well, I was just completely touched by it, and I want to let you guys also know that starting the beginning of the first, not the actual first, but whatever day, the first Thursday of the month. Thank you, Lupe. Hey, Max 2002, whatever that first Thursday of the month of February is, I'm going to do a new series of Love Gone Wrong. And as you know, and you're familiar with my brand, they don't have happy endings. So don't be coming in here thinking you're going to get some kind of, mushy love story. Even if even if I knew stories like that, I wouldn't tell them because they just they don't. I can't even watch rom-coms or anything like that. If it's not a love story that takes place, centered around some type of apocalyptic situation, or a war or something where people are fighting and all the things, then thank you, Molson Man. Yes, February 3rd. Then I can't do it. I'm not into it. I finally just, like, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, watched The Notebook all the way through, which actually that one was a good movie, but, I had to take a lot of, like, I had to pause it a lot and go do other things and then come back. It was just not into that mushy stuff. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, yes, February 3rd, I'm gonna do that, and then there's also a a new trial coming up that I'm wanting to present to you guys. I'm just ironing out the details and finding out exactly when it's going to start and if it's going to be streamed. So I don't want to say anything in case I have to have a backup. But another one that Teresa reminded me about, which I'm very excited um, to watch with you guys. It's one that it's a case I'm familiar with somewhat, not like it's been a while since I've looked at it or whatever, but I I didn't realize that his trial was coming up so quick. So it is, and it starts I think maybe the 3rd is what I'm hearing, but I'm just trying to figure out how we can, or if it's going to be streamed, but I will find a way. So I think now what I'm going to do is play the intro and then we'll get started. Because it's Sunday and everybody's got to go to work and school tomorrow, and I don't want to keep you guys up late. And I don't want y'all to have, what's that thing they say in Office Space? Oh, yeah. Looks like somebody's got a case of the Mondays. I don't want anybody saying that to y'all. So here's the intro and then we'll get going. All right, so we're going to start with, yes, Molson Man, we are done with Tear Bear. I can't take any more Tear Bear. I'm done with her. Although I did find the GIF that I sent to Teresa a long time ago, which frankly, in my opinion, although she's not here to either confirm or deny, so I'm just going to say that it would confirm this with me. This gift that I sent Teresa, I totally believe is what made her fall in love with me permanent like. I sent her it's a Care Bear. It's pulling up in a car, in their little cloud car or whatever, and it says, "Get in, loser, we're going caring." I think that's what solidified her love for me, but I have to show it to you guys sometime. I'll work it into a video somewhere. I promise. So, oh, hey, MJ, how's it going? I don't know how to say the first part of your name and I don't want to mess it up. So I'm just going to go with MJ because it's real easy for me to read. I'm intelligent. I just am not good with names. I'm not even going to front. So tonight we're going to watch we're going to start with the forensic pathologist. And I'm not 100% convinced that Care Bear wasn't blackmailing Amy and Amy was paying her with eggs. I've never seen anybody need that many eggs in my life. Of course, I don't need eggs, so maybe that's why. I don't know, but ill. All right, so let me do all the things I need to do to make the screen share correct, and then we'll get started. Now, I understand that there are going to be YouTube, stop sending me this offer. I've declined it 7 times. I don't need it on both my channels. Anyway, I'm given to understand there are pictures in this. I think that the pictures are of the same caliber as the emergency room doctor. Yeah, thank you, Mo. And so I don't think they're too bad. But there's your warning. All right, here we go.
State your name and spell it for the record, please.
Kelly, Kelly, Cruz, Kruse.
Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you. Ms. Cruz, what is your present title?
I am a forensic pathologist at the Iowa Office of the State Medical Examiner.
And Dr. Cruz, where did you grow up?
I grew up in San Diego, California.
And you
We're going
indicated what your
to
title
go
is,
ahead
but
and
I'd be
skip
fair to
through
say that
this
you're a
part
doctor.
because
Yes.
And what are you a
we don't
doctor
need her
of?
credentials.
I'm a doctor of forensic pathology.
Yeah, I think it's like 9 minutes.
The court has already she's been proffered as an expert witness. They've accepted, both sides have accepted that she's an expert, and so if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. Okay.
You want to answer Bloom while we're paused?
I wasn't paused. I was on the other screen. Let me see. Oh, yes, Bloom, Tick Bloom. Let me give you so what you're going to want to do, can you give me just a second and I'll do it while I'm going to push play on this and then I'm going to give you the exact right link directly to that. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. All right, here we go.
Since she had a number of external injuries, I wanted to look closely and see if any of those injuries corresponded to injuries in the internal organs as well. The injuries were confined, the penetrating injuries were confined to the chest region. So I did identify some injury to the lungs as well as blood in the chest cavities.
Doctor, I believe you indicated at some point in an autopsy, you generally look if there's any natural diseases.
Correct.
In this case, were you able to determine if there was any natural diseases?
In Miss Mullis's liver, she had a small cyst, it's just a little opening with some fluid in it. It was benign.
Did you believe that to be fatal in any way?
No.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that State's Exhibits 49 through 65 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. 49 through 65 are admitted.
And Your Honor, at this time, I would ask to publish them to the jury.
I will let you publish. Again, anyone who doesn't want to see these pictures or doesn't think they can see them, I'll give you a minute to either leave the courtroom or stand on this side of the courtroom. Counsel, you can go ahead and publish.
Dr. Cruz, you talked about some of Amy's injuries that you photographed. I'm going to show you Exhibit 49. Is this a photograph of Amy Mullis from that day?
Yes, it is.
And I see here there's what appears to be a ruler on her chest.
Yes.
And what does that indicate to you?
So we use a ruler for scale, and we also have a number on the ruler. That's our internal office number for organizational purposes, showing the year and what number autopsy she was that year.
And that's what's listed on that ruler?
Correct.
Now, can you describe what you see in this picture, please?
So on each of our decedents, we take a photograph. We call it an identification photograph. We want just a photograph of the face. So this shows Miss Mullis's face. Coming out of the corner of her mouth is a breathing tube that was inserted during emergency therapy. And you can also see some injuries on her face as well.
And in this photograph, where do you see injuries on her face?
So she has a small abrasion or a scrape in the middle of her upper lip. And she also has a much larger abrasion or a scrape on her left side of her chin with a surrounding contusion or a bruise.
I'll show you State's Exhibit number 50. What is this a photograph of?
So this is a closer up photograph of the lower half of Miss Mullis's face on the left side, again showing that abrasion or the scrape in the upper lip and that abrasion and contusion on the left side of the jaw.
Now, we heard yesterday from Dr. Thompson, but just so that everybody's clear, what's an abrasion?
So an abrasion is a scraping of the skin that removes the top part of the skin, and it's indicative of blunt force injury. So you have an object that has a blunt surface to it, and the impact from that scrapes off that top layer of skin.
And what is a contusion?
Contusion is also a bruise, which also comes from a blunt object, and that indicates there's bleeding in the surrounding skin. So from that impact, the blood vessels burst and cause that bleeding.
Now, I believe you indicated blunt force injury or blunt force trauma.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
So blunt force trauma comes from a blunt object, and it indicates crushing or tearing or scraping of the skin from the impact of that object.
Now, Dr. I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 51. What's in this photograph?
So this is a close-up photograph of Miss Mullis's ear. On the top part of the ear, there's an abrasion or a scrape. And also on the earlobe and in front of the ear, we see more contusions or bruises. She also had contusions and bruises behind the ear as well.
Were you able to get a photograph of the contusions and abrasions and behind this ear?
No, we did not have a photograph behind the ear.
And you indicated were those abrasions or contusions behind?
There were contusions behind the ear. She had earrings in when she came to our office, so it's reasonable to consider that her earrings hitting her ear or the back of her head could have caused that bruising.
Now I'll show you State's Exhibit number 52. What is this a photograph of?
This is more far away photograph of the top half of Miss Mullis after she was cleaned and her medical therapy was removed. We can again see that blunt force injury on the face, on the lips, on the side of the jaw, and now we can see
Removed
on her upper chest and the top of her right breast. There's a bit of asymmetry to her breast because her right breast implant was injured during one of the penetrating wounds that entered her back.
No, I'll show you.
Hey, Betty's
Exhibit
Beauty.
number-
Good to see you.
I'm
Hey,
sorry,
where's
State's Exhibit
Kenny?
53. Is
Sliding
this
in.
a close-up of her chest area?
Correct. This is a close-up of the chest, highlighting those abrasions and those contusions or bruises that were on her chest and the top part of her breast.
And can you tell what these injuries are on her chest or where they came from?
So they again indicate some sort of blunt force injury. It could be during some sort of struggle, really any sort of impact with a blunt object. I can't say with absolute certainty where they came from, but they are a blunt force injury.
Doctor, I'll show you State's Exhibit number 54. What is this a photograph of?
So this is a close-up photograph of Miss Mullis's right hand. She has a number of abrasions or scrapes and contusions and bruises on the back part of her hand and in the knuckle region.
And State's Exhibit number 55.
This is a close-up photograph of her left hand. She has a few more of these abrasions or scrapes and also some bruising as well on the back side of her hand and in the knuckle region. These could potentially reflect defensive type wounds from a struggle.
And State's Exhibit number 56. What is this a photograph of?
This is a close-up photograph of Miss Mullis's right knee. She again has more abrasions and contusions on the right knee.
State's exhibit number 57.
This is her left knee. She has some larger abrasions or scrapes and multiple contusions as well.
Now, doctor, we've talked about blunt force trauma. Can you explain what sharp force injuries or trauma is?
So in contrast to blunt force, we have a blunt object essentially hitting the skin. Sharp force penetrates the skin and cuts and divides as it moves through your body. You tend to have longer sort of injuries with a sharp force injury. We classically think of knives and things like that, but really anything that would be able to cut and divide the skin would be considered a sharp object.
Now, throughout your exam, did you then perform an examination of Amy's back?
I did.
I'm showing you state's exhibit number 58. What is this a photograph of?
So this is a photograph mostly of the right side of her back and the right side of her chest. Her right arm is in that top right portion of the picture. And here we see multiple sharp force.
I agree, Allie, 79.
I actually disagree.
Why?
Because when you have a forensic pathologist on the stand, because they are experts, and in that capacity, because they were not there, they are allowed to use the terms may have been defensive wounds. That's the language that they use. It doesn't mean that she's allowing for another theory. It's just that in a autopsy report, because they didn't see it, it wasn't caught on video. You know what I'm saying? They reference it there. They reference it as may have been.
And now that I think about it, he says it was a murder too, so
Right.
there would be no reason for him to object.
Right, but even if he didn't think, even if the defense wasn't raising the theory that it was actually a murder, it's just that Todd Mullis isn't the one who committed it, they would not typically object to that specific may word, the word
that
may.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna hit play.
Injuries that I identified at autopsy.
And here, Dr. Cruz, how many sharp force injuries do you see?
We see a total of 6, which was the number that I identified at autopsy.
And just so we're clear, there's one right underneath, or on the picture on the right side, one underneath that appears to be arm.
Yeah, under the armpit area, she had one.
Doctor, I'm going to show you state's exhibit number 59. What is this a photograph of?
So this is another photograph of the right side of her chest. Now in the rightmost portion of the picture, that's a chest tube. An incision was created and a tube was inserted during emergency therapy. And that's to get any sort of blood out that's potentially in her chest cavity. So that's not considered a wound. But right to the left of it is a sharp force injury.
And then would it be fair to say that the one you just described, you go to the left of that and you see a second one?
I do. So the first one on the right entered the chest cavity through the ribs. And that's the one that also exited the chest cavity on the anterior surface and punctured the right breast and breast implant. Then if you go more to the left, above the M on the ruler is a second sharp force injury. In my report, just for the purpose of organization, I made them A, B, C, and D. So the first one on the very right, I called puncture wound A. Then on the left, more left to it, is puncture wound B. So puncture wound B entered the soft tissue and the chest cavity in between the ribs as well. This one hit the right lung in 2 different spots. Then it continued on and went through the diaphragm, which is a bit of muscle that separates your chest cavity and your abdominal cavity. It went through the diaphragm and it also punctured the liver as well.
Now, if you keep going, do you see then what you classified as puncture wound C?
I do. So keep going left from puncture wound B is C. They're 2 almost on top of each other. C is on the top and D is on the bottom.
Would it be fair to say that according to the picture, C is a little bit smaller than D?
Yes, it does look smaller.
And what observations did you make in your exam of puncture wound C?
So puncture wound C injured the soft tissue of the back of the chest, the skin, the subcutaneous tissue or the tissue right under the skin, and the muscle of the back, but it did not enter the chest cavity.
And if you then go
So it went all the way through her?
underneath and a little bit to the left of that, would that be puncture wound D?
What?
The spikes went all the way through her?
No,
From
I
the
don't.
back to the
No,
chest?
I don't think that she had. I'll have to rewind and listen better, but it sounds to me like they went in from behind and entered all the way through the chest cavity, but didn't completely come out of the chest cavity because they hit the liver, the diaphragm, and the implant. I don't think it was all the way through.
Okay, because I thought they were showing pictures of her chest. Okay.
Well,
That's
they are showing pictures of her chest. So, but if you think about it, and now they're showing pictures of her side, I guess it is. But I think that the reason they showed the picture of her chest is to show the injury to the implant. Listen,
okay.
it does sound really violent, and it is violent what happened. But I want everybody to know also that women have been in car accidents and have had the airbag deploy, and it has ruptured their implants. It just depends a lot on the way that the implant was placed. But it's still what happened to her is very violent. It's not real easy to puncture an implant.
From the
It's
back.
well, yeah. Because and the thing about it is the way that this was done is interesting too, because in order for it to be able to do all of the damage that it did, which is what she's talking about, it's the tines, or I guess because I'm thinking of a fork, but the prongs are going in between each rib. So, and
Right.
in between the rib, you have like little this cartilage stuff, right? And then obviously if your skin and however a little bit of muscle, and depending on your level of trouble, you would have a little bit of fat over it. But if you think about what ribs are designed, why we have them and what they're designed to protect, this came with some force. Somebody was very angry.
Right.
D?
Yeah, right below it. So you have that long kind of reddish line. That's an abrasion or a scrape. At the bottom of that is puncture wound D. And like puncture wound C, puncture wound D only injured soft tissue. It did not enter the chest cavity.
Would it be fair to say that D then would be the lowest puncture wound that we see at this time?
Correct.
And puncture wound E, which one would you describe that being?
So at the very top part of the picture, you see the little bottom part of the last puncture wound, not counting that one, the leftmost puncture wound next to C is puncture wound E. So puncture wound E did enter the chest cavity, but instead of the right side of the chest, it entered the left side of the chest. It went through the soft tissue in between two ribs on the left side of the chest. And it was actually so close to the
So then I'm
spine
guessing
region that it injured part of a vertebral body, or that bone that makes up the spine.
Oh no, I got it
injured
right.
Part of that as well before it entered the left side of the chest.
Now, doctor, all the way up at
So some of them did go through her.
59 on the top near the right side. Do you see the edge of what you described as puncture wound F?
Yeah, F actually was the only one that was on the left side of the back, and F injured the skin, the soft tissue, and it entered the left chest cavity as well. Neither of the ones that entered the left chest cavity injured organs in that cavity, but they did enter the cavity.
Now, doctor, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 60. Is this
Oh, shoot. We forgot to do a poll.
This one is, you can't see the one that's underneath her armpit very well, but you can see better the one on the left side of the chest that entered the left chest cavity. So you see 5 of the total 6 puncture wounds.
So in this
Yeah, so
photograph,
they
we
did
don't
then
see
hit-
what you classified as puncture wound.
Some of
A
them did
that's
come
near that
out.
chest tube underneath her right arm,
Exactly.
but you do see the other 5.
Correct.
Now, doctor, based on your exam, could you tell which puncture wound was fatal?
So technically, any sort of penetrating wound, like a puncture wound, can be
Oh,
fatal.
is
You can
yours
get an
pausing? I
infection
don't
that
know
can
why
lead
it's
to your
doing
death
that. I
that way.
apologize.
In terms of a more rapidly fatal wound,
No, it's not
the
pausing.
4 puncture wounds that entered her chest cavity were more likely to contribute to her death. So that would be A, B, E, and F.
Now, based on your exam, could you tell the direction of the wound paths?
So there were 2 different directions of the 6 puncture wounds. The rightmost wounds, A, B, C, and D, so the one by her chest tube underneath her armpit, the one left to it, and then the 2 that are on top of each other, those all go from back to front. So when we describe direction, we do it in terms of anatomic position. So anatomic position is with the person standing straight, looking straight forward with their feet forward. And then their hands are down by their side with their palms out. And so your thumbs are facing out. So with Miss Mullis in that position, those 4 wounds went back to front, right to left, and downward. The leftmost, E and F, also went back to front, right to left, but they went upward.
And what do those different directions indicate to you?
To me, they indicate that she would have to be impaled with the rake at least twice.
And when you say at least twice, can you tell exactly how many times she was struck?
I cannot. You could consider 1 penetrating wound for each of these injuries, but at least twice, possibly 3 times.
And why do you say possibly 3 times?
So puncture wound D, the bottommost puncture wound, if you think about the corn rake with the tines in succession, the one under her armpit, B and C, tend to be in a line, and those all go in the same direction. That bottommost puncture wound also goes in that direction, but to consider that within the line of the tines on the corn rake is difficult. So to me, it possibly represents a 3rd strike.
So, doctor, based on your exam, can you say that Amy Mullis's body was struck at least 2 times with the corn rake?
Correct.
Possibly 3.
Yes.
Doctor, what
I wish
caused
Teresa would hurry up.
Amy Mullis's death?
So thinking about the puncture wounds that enter the chest cavity, when something penetrates your chest and you remove that object, you create a hole that allows air to go into your chest cavity. When it also penetrates the chest cavity and goes through the soft tissue between your ribs, it injures blood vessels that are there. So she had the injured blood vessels in addition to her injured right lung, and that's leaking blood into her chest cavities. So the combination of the air and the blood put pressure on your heart and your lungs, which are in your chest cavities, and that pressure really restricts the function of your heart and your lungs, which are very important organs in your body. So without any sort of therapy to relieve that pressure, death will occur.
Now, doctor, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 61. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph of the corn rake that was brought to the autopsy suite, and there was a photograph we took of it.
Now, when you were talking about
Why does this photo look like they're going to be there in a
your
minute?
exam and your belief that Amy was struck 2 or 3 times, you talked about the line. You
Hey,
indicated
Sherry.
the line that the puncture wounds were in.
Exactly.
And did you base that exam or on this corn rake that you were able to observe?
I did.
And did you take this photograph?
I did.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 62. Is this just another angle of the corn rake?
It is. It's an angle emphasizing the curvature of the tines on the rake.
And I'll show you State's Exhibit number 63. I know you indicated that Amy's clothing
Oops.
was brought with
I
her.
must have cut off
Is that
the
a
right
yes?
part.
Yes, it is.
You also took photographs of that.
We did. And so this was a sweatshirt that was brought in a separate bag, which we removed and documented and photographed.
State's Exhibit number 64. What is this a photograph of?
This is of a gray long sleeve shirt that Miss Mullis was reportedly wearing at the time she was injured. So we photographed this as well.
Oh, I want to see more of
State's
those.
Exhibit number 65. What is this a photograph of?
This is a pink jacket that Miss Mullis was also reportedly wearing at that time. all of these the clothing items, the shirt, the sweatshirt, and the jacket all showed blood staining, which you can see on the left side of the picture. And they also had defects that corresponded to the wounds on her body.
Now, Doctor, earlier when you were talking about in your testimony, I believe that you indicated that one of the purposes of an autopsy is to determine cause and manner of death. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what cause of death is?
So cause of death, it's an injury or it's a disease process that ultimately leads to someone's death. It can be an immediate death or it can be more delayed, but it starts a sequence of events that ultimately leads to
We haven't made
someone's
up our
death.
minds
And
yet,
there are
Sherry, but
numerous
we're
possibilities for cause of death.
not all the
And
way
in this
convinced of
case,
his
were you able
guilt.
to determine Amy Mullis's cause of death?
Yes.
And what was it?
Sharp force injuries of torso.
And you also indicated that your part of your exam is to determine the manner of death.
Correct.
And can you explain what that is, manner of death?
So we have less options with manner of death. We actually have 5. One is natural. So that's any sort of death that results from a natural disease process. And it's really just describing the circumstances surrounding someone's death. We also have suicide, which means death at the hands of oneself. We have homicide, which is death at the hands of another. Accident, death due to unforeseen events. You can classically think of a car crash. And then undetermined. And that's when we've considered all options. We performed a thorough examination, toxicology investigation, and we can't confidently say that their manner of death is one of the other 4, then we say it's undetermined.
And in this case, what was the manner of death?
Homicide.
Now, Dr. Cruz, could you tell from your exam when Amy's blunt force injuries, the ones on her face, her arms, her knees, and her chest area, not the fatal ones on her back, when those would have been, when those injuries, when Amy would have sustained them?
So looking at blunt force injuries, when we're trying to determine timing, we look to see if there's any sort of hemorrhage, which is bleeding around those injuries. You're going to have hemorrhage or bleeding when your heart is still pumping. And these all had associated hemorrhage. So I can say it either happened before her death or around the time that she was dying.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Doctor, yesterday when Dr. Thompson was testifying, he described the process in which when the decision has been made to send the body to the state medical examiner's office, what protocol they go through.
Yes.
And you're familiar with that.
Yes.
One of the things I recall him mentioning is that her hands were bagged. Is that how she arrived at your office?
She did.
And what is the purpose of bagging hands?
So we classically bag hands if we want to maintain any sort of evidence that we think we might need. In cases where we think this might be a homicide or we think having fingernails might be important later on, we suggest bagging the hands. And this contains any DNA or evidence during that transport process that could potentially be lost when they're in a body bag, especially if there's a lot of blood involved.
When Ms. Mullis's body arrived at your office and you began your preparations, did anything that you did there include the examination or the attempt to retrieve evidence or see if any evidence may have existed in her hands, fingernails, that type of thing?
May I refer to my?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Just wanna make sure. So in terms of, I didn't do a gross examination of her nails to see if anything was underneath them, but we did do fingernail clippings where we take the top portion of the fingernails with the fingernail clipper and we put the fingernails and the clipper in a sealed evidence bag.
And why is that done?
So if we have concerns of a struggle and we think DNA might have come underneath the victim's fingernails from a struggle, taking fingernails might be useful in the investigative process.
do you know whether or not the fingernails taken from Ms. Mullis were examined?
I do not.
Did anyone request you or anyone else in your office to do so?
I do not know.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You're
Thank
free to
you.
go. Please. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat.
New witness, who dis, Mo?
State your name and spell it for the record, please.
Deb
I
Sherbring.
think this was a coworker.
Deborah.
Okay.
Debra Scherbring.
Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you. Ms. Sherbring, where do you currently live?
Manchester, Iowa,
And how old are you?
62.
And which area did you grow up in?
Earlville,
Are you married?
yes,
And do you have any children?
4.
I
What's your
wonder if you
current
get in
occupation?
trouble if they ask you that
I'm
question
a
and you
environmental
answer,
service manager at
a
the
lady
Manchester
never
Hospital.
tells.
How long have you been employed there?
I
Next
don't know
year
why
will be
they
4th
ask.
year.
I think it's kind of rude.
It is a little rude. We're
What's
gonna,
not?
I mean, what
I
do
see
they
her
need to know how old
always and-
people are?
I don't know.
Years.
Correct.
Do
I
you
turn
know when
into,
Amy started working there?
what's
I
his
do
name,
not
Mr.
know.
Smith? Frankly, ma'am, it's
Did you
none
have
of
a
your
friendship
business.
outside of work or
I just want to answer just one time. I don't know why I would have an occasion to testify, but if I ever did and they asked me my age, I just want to tell them a lady never tells. Just kidding. I'm no lady, 45.
I feel like I've seen somebody say that.
I don't know why. I guess they're just, I don't know. I have to look into that. I know that there is an actual like reason for it. I just don't remember what it is. Okay. Let's see what, Deborah Shearbring has to say.
were you
Well, they
social
didn't
with
ask
Amy?
the pathologist
I
how old she
wasn't.
was.
I see her in the hallways and small talk.
It's
nice
different for,
weather, whatever.
And did at some
expert
point did Amy
testimony.
stop working at Regional
I
Medical
know, I
Center?
was kidding.
Yes, she did.
Do you know
Sorry.
when that was?
I do not.
After Amy stopped working there, did you maintain a relationship or friendship with her?
I did not.
Did you see her at all in that time?
I would say in the last 5 years, I might have seen her once or twice at my granddaughter's ball games.
Now, Ms. Sherbring, sometime at the
Hold on a
end
minute.
of
I need to take a
August
pause for
2018, do you
Molson
remember a
Man's
phone
news
call?
here. That's really going to be the Super Bowl? The
Yeah.
Bengals and the Rams? Well, Molson Man, who's going to do the halftime show? Any word on that? That's who I care about. I don't care anything about the Bengals or the Rams.
Yeah, and I lost on every single thing I bet on.
I'm sorry, Mo.
That's all right.
I don't even know what to say to. What a shock. All right. We'll get back to that later.
Call that you had with Amy.
Yes, I do.
Where were you at when you had that phone call?
I got off work that day, probably around 2 or 2:30. I was home and on my front porch working with flowers, and I received a phone call.
Do you remember what time of day it was?
I'd say 3:30, 4 o'clock in that area.
And was anybody else present with you when you received that phone call?
No, I was home alone.
Did you have Amy's number in your phone?
I do not.
Did you answer the phone call or did you get on the phone?
I received a phone call and I was outside and I couldn't really see who called. I did not have my glasses on. So when I picked up the phone, Amy was on the line.
Did you recognize Amy's voice?
She was crying hard and screaming and all frustrated. And I did not know for sure if it was one of my kids. And so I asked who this was and she said Amy Mullis.
Did you continue to talk with her?
Yes.
What would you describe her demeanor as when you were on the phone with her?
She was just very upset.
What was Amy saying?
She asked me if I hear any rumors about her, and I said no, I did not. And being I worked at the hospital, she was crying that she said she was having an affair, and it wasn't true. And if I heard any rumors at the hospital, please stop them. I did ask if I was saying something, And she said, no, but being you work there, I think you hear things and please stop them for.
Do you know why Amy called you?
I do not know. I thought because, I don't know, I think she was looking for someone that worked at the hospital.
Because prior to that, had you heard any rumors that Amy was having an affair?
I did not.
During that conversation, what did Amy say anything additionally to you?
Yes, Amy was all upset and she was crying that if her husband Todd would find out that he would kill her. And she kept screaming that several times. And then she said, if Tristan, you do not know what it's like to have Tristan tell you if Dad finds out you're going to have an affair, he'll kill you. And then I did not know who Tristan was.
Did you say anything to Amy at that point?
I asked who Tristan was, and she said my son. And so
Did you know who Todd was?
I knew who Todd was.
How did you know who Todd was?
Todd went to school. He's a little older than, I think, my son. So they went to the same high school.
While Amy was saying these things to you, did she remain hysterical and upset?
Yes. Sometimes I could not understand what she was saying.
No, I know that you indicated that you asked her what her name was, and she said it was Amy Mullis.
Correct.
And while you continued your conversation with her, did you recognize her voice?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
Cross-examination?
Ma'am, how many years do you work at the hospital?
Next year will be 30.
So you were working there during the years that Amy worked there.
Correct.
We understand from other testimony that she left her employment there approximately 5 years ago. Does that sound about right?
I would not know. There's 400 employees and I don't know when they come and go.
All right. You indicated that when she called you all upset about this, that you had not heard any rumors about her.
I did not.
And you don't know why you were picked out to be called by Amy.
I do not. The only thing I can think of is because I worked there and she repeated many times, if I hear anything at the hospital, please stop it. And so I figured she was just looking for someone that worked where she used to work.
And you don't know why she was concerned about these rumors.
I do not.
That's all I have. Thank you.
So
Okay,
weird.
Down. Please
I
state your
think
name.
this
and
is a
spell it for the
coworker
record.
too. I'm not sure.
ANGIEBURR.
Make sure you speak into that microphone so we can hear you. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you. Ma'am, how old are you?
35,
And what area do you currently live in?
Earlville,
What area did you grow up in?
Earlville,
What is your current occupation?
a lab tech,
Where do you work at?
Manchester Family Vision Center.
And are you married?
Yes,
Do you have any children?
3.
And how old?
I'm pausing because Amelia Sparkles is confused. We're all confused, babe.
Yeah.
We're all confused. I understand
So
why the
weird.
prosecution is doing what they're doing, because they're trying to establish that Amy was in fear of her life and that she was in fear of her for her life from one person and one person only, and that would be Todd. But
Right.
okay, so I'm clear on that part. Let me tell you the part I'm not clear on.
I don't know why I'm laughing already because I already know.
I cannot think of a circumstance, whether I was having an affair or not, that I would just be calling some random person that worked at a hospital and been like, yo, Deborah, Girl, do you hear some rumors about me? Because if you did hear some rumors about me, I'm gonna need you to tell me. And by the way, my husband and my son know that my husband's gonna kill me if he finds out.
Right?
It makes
Somebody she worked with 5 years ago. Wasn't
didn't.
even friends with, just worked with her.
Here's the
Out
thing.
of the blue.
Here's the question that I have. What I missed this part because okay, the truth of the matter is I pushed mute and I walked away and I got a jalapeno popper, okay? So I missed the part of the testimony where she said what her job was at that hospital. I think I might have accidentally skipped forward, but I'm just like, was she the telephone answerer?
All I can think was that Deborah was into gossip. I don't even know why she would call the people at the hospital. Do they talk to Todd?
Well, I know
So
that
weird.
Tear Bear testified that she told her that there were rumors coming out about her and that they were
Yeah,
coming
probably
from the
from Tear Bear.
hospital. Well, right, because Tear Bear did work there. But I'm almost wondering if the purpose actually of her call wasn't so much about Todd as it was about Terry. I'm wondering if she was trying to gauge if
Austin.
I don't think anybody gossiped more than Tear Bear because Deborah had no idea. She was like, no. Hey, BR the Star, what's up? I maybe. Okay, I'm just going to keep playing this because I have no real good answer for this level of this farmer's edition of Grey's
Also,
Anatomy.
if you're that scared that your husband's going to kill you, would you just not have the affair?
Well, I think at that point it might have been too late because she was already in the affair. I probably would have left a paper trail. I might have reported that to the police just so they'd know. I don't know. This is very bizarre to me, but let's continue and see what old Angie Burr has to say.
Okay, she's a lab technician.
11,
Okay.
7, and 6.
Did you know Amy Mullis?
Yes.
How did you know Amy?
Our daughters are friends.
When you say your
Being
daughter,
friends. And then was friends with her at the time.
Amy's daughter, Taylor,
Yes.
was friends with your daughter?
Yes.
What's your daughter's name?
Malia.
And how old is Malia?
11.
Did you and Amy become friends?
Yes.
And how long have you and Amy been friendly or friends for?
5 years.
Did you know Todd Mullis?
Yes.
How did you know Todd?
I just knew of him. We went to school at Maquoketa Valley.
When you say you were friends with Amy, what kind of things would you do together?
We went to movies. We went out to eat. We went to the pool together. We went to each other's houses.
How would you communicate when you would talk with Amy?
Usually on the phone.
Did you ever hang out with Todd Mullis?
With Amy.
And in what capacity?
When we would go to, I think 2 times we went out to eat, and then a couple of times we went to there on the hill. They had bonfires.
Do you remember a day in the fall or near the fall of 2018 when Amy sent you a text message?
Yes.
Do you remember what day that actually was?
No, I do not.
Do you remember, what do you remember about it?
It was like football season for high schoolers.
And do you recall, was school in session or was it summer break?
School was in session.
And I know you indicated that you would usually talk to Amy. Sometimes you text as well.
Yes.
And you received a text message from Amy that day?
Yes.
And what did it say?
Call me.
What did you do then?
I called her.
And when you called Amy, what did you observe?
She was upset. I could barely understand her. And she was crying because Tristan did not want to get on the bus that morning because he didn't know if she was going to be there when he got off the bus. And since Todd found out about an affair and she wanted the rumors to stop.
Now, during this conversation, what was Amy doing?
I have no idea where she was at.
I'm sorry, what were you observing of her behavior?
She was upset and hysterical, and I just couldn't hear. All I could hear was she said something about Tristan not wanting to get on the bus and something about an affair, and she wanted it to stop. And
Did you know what rumors what Amy was talking about?
no,
Did she say anything to you at that time about having an affair?
just that the rumors needed to stop.
And did she refer to what the rumors were?
An affair.
Now, Ms. Burr, another time, were you at a bar with Amy where you had a conversation with her?
Yes.
And do you recall when that conversation took place?
When?
Yes.
It would have been winter time on a Friday night.
So would it be, Amy's death was in November 2018, correct?
Yes.
Would it have been the winter before that?
Yes.
And do you recall what month it would have been?
It was probably one of the first Fridays in January.
And was anybody else present for that conversation?
No.
Did Amy relay any information to you about her relationship with Todd?
Just that she could never leave him because she didn't want to leave the kids.
And did she tell you if she was happy or unhappy?
She said she was not happy, but she wasn't going to leave him because she didn't want to leave the kids.
Mo, you watched that testimony 87 times. Do you remember?
Cross-examination.
Look at the question Allie asked.
Yeah, I answered her. I don't remember it, Deborah.
Okay, I didn't think so either.
Excuse me,
I
Ms.
thought it
Burr,
was like a Jane or something. Or
Yeah, it was something with a J.
How did
Yeah.
you and Amy become friends? I mean, how did you cross paths?
Our daughters became friends.
she already answered that, sir. Objection, asked and answered. Just
And
kidding.
about-
That's not an appropriate objection for that, but
How far
It's
back
an actual
would you say
objection.
it went when it became just your daughters being friends to where you and Amy as parents became friends?
2 years.
And at least on a couple of occasions that involved you and your spouse and Amy and Todd going out to dinner
Yes.
and your family being invited to some ground where they'd have bonfires.
Yes.
That was on the Mullis farm.
Yes.
And you're saying that this call that you got from Amy where she was frantic, upset and talking about rumors, your best measuring stick is that it was school was in session and probably football season.
Yes.
But you're telling the jury today you had no idea what she was talking about.
No.
That's all I have. Thank you, ma'am.
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You're free to go.
Whew.
Um,
It's very odd.
very.
But I think Allie had a good point.
That instigating Tear Bear said that
Yes.
those that makes
I
the
think
most
Terry
sense.
started the rumors and she tried to blame it on somebody else and just threw out old Deborah's name.
I mean, that's the only thing that really makes sense as to why she would be contacting Deborah. Otherwise, it just doesn't fit. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. That
Yeah.
that she had to have been Deborah's name had to have come up. And since we didn't see it in the text, and that's
The
other-
deleted texts.
Oh, well, I was thinking about that though, because there could be a perfectly logical explanation for that. They did have many conversations that took place over the phone, verbal conversations. So it could have been something that she said to her, that Terry said to her verbally, because there were not texts that talked about the rumors.
Right.
So I think she called her. I think that I think that when they were on the phone, I think that Terry must have told her. See, the issue I have with Terry is that it seems to me that she is she is instigating situations that put Amy in a concerned, worried, fearful that Todd has found out, way of thinking, right? And on top of that, Amy is aware that Terry is communicating with Todd because Terry told her she was. And then you have her really playing both ends against the middle, whispering things in Amy's ear and then also in Todd's ear. And she really was pushing for that meetup or ambush, if you will, at the fair. There's Teresa.
I
just got home. Hey,
I was getting ready to say, where? Oh, Teresa, you just missed it.
Did you guys do the chancho? The Sancho?
No, the Sancho.
No.
Next, I waited for the Sancho for you.
We did the random coworker that Amy called after 5 years to
ask.
Right.
To
That
ask
doesn't make any sense.
We can't figure. Okay, but Allie 79, bless her heart, she has been thinking and thinking about this, and she has come up with the correct reason why this might have taken place. Let me scroll up and find it. I think it's right here. We think now, well, Allie thinks, and we all agree, that the most likely scenario for Amy to have made that call to Deborah is basically because old Tear Bear told her that she heard the rumors from Deborah.
Oh.
And that's the only reason why.
I thought it was a dude. When Tear Bear was being cross-examined, the defense attorney said something about like Steve called Brandon and Brandon told you or whatever. And that's not the right names, but I swear it was a guy.
There was a guy in the mix there, but then I'm just going to be completely blunt. Tear Bear was getting on my nerves there at the last 3 minutes of testimony, and I was annoyed, and I probably just tuned it out. That's the way it was.
Well, I think Terry is a liar, and I think she's hiding stuff. And I think she's a pot stirrer.
I agree, but what I noticed both on direct and cross-examination with old Tear Bear was the over explaining that someone does when they've done something that they should not have been doing. Meaning you got caught talking crap in the DMs and somebody finna put your screenshots on blast. And then you got to come up with a reasonable and plausible explanation for that. Let me tell y'all, just as a spoiler alert, if that ever happens to you, say this. When was that screenshot? Okay, yeah, I probably did feel that way on August 28th, 1989. But I don't feel that way today.
I like that you're always so precise with your timelines and your history. I also going to end up getting called out for that because you're going to tell the same story and it's going to be a totally different date and time. People are going to be like, Jen Lou, you're not telling the truth.
Yeah, they're going to try to
do that on August 8th, 1989. You said it was September 12th.
I'll probably have an explanation for that too. I
probably
always have a loophole. I was telling the girls about the time, what it was. I think that solidified your love for me or made you fall in love with me was the Care Bear gif.
Oh yes,
where it's the Care Bear in the little cloud car.
Did you show it to them?
I haven't.
Get in, loser. We're going Karen.
I gotta get that. I gotta get it. It's my favorite. It's my I'm going to have to work it into a video.
You really are.
I'm going to, and I think I know exactly how I'm going to work it in.
Throw it on a
So,
thumbnail.
I will.
Did you tell the story about the trial that's coming up, or are we keeping that to ourselves?
No, this is what I said. I said that there's a trial coming up at the very beginning of February, and I'm very excited for it, and we're going to cover it. I'm just trying to figure out where it's being streamed.
Yeah, hopefully it is being streamed.
That's what I'm worried about. So I didn't want to say too much in case we had to come up with a plan B. We also heard the medical examiner, the forensic pathologist.
For like 10-minute testimony?
Yeah, but some of that testimony was quite interesting.
Yes, it is.
Because she says that it's possible that it was actually 3 times.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And see, this is my thing, Teresa. I don't think it was an accident, but where I'm having trouble with is that it was Todd. I still don't see how they've connected that. Because
are you thinking Tristan?
I'm thinking maybe him, but I'm also actually the one I was really thinking about before I even thought about him is Jerry's wife.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
She has a motive.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Anita. Yeah, she has a motive, and I'm curious about her, and I want to know all the things. I want to know if they spoke to her, and if they did speak to her, what did she say, and did she have an alibi? Because I want to know. She is not okay. A farm is a farm, and I get that it's it's out there in the middle of nowhere. But the advantage of it being out there in the middle of nowhere is that it's not like they have a neighbor Nate, okay, with a camera pointed at the driveway, right? So anybody could have entered that farm at any point. And there is a point of that day where Amy was home by herself with the younger kids, with the other 2 kids, I should say, and Tristan and Jerry were not at the farm. They left. So I'm curious about that. I want to know where she was.
Where's old Jer Bear's wife?
Yeah. Jerry Fraser.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. I'm very, very curious.
He's up next. He might say.
Yeah, he might say.
I don't remember him saying it, but he might.
Well, we're going to find out because I'm fixing to play it.
Momo or Shmita, did you guys request the discovery for this case?
No, Iowa was hard to request.
Okay, I thought it was just me. I've been feeling stupid. I was like, I can't figure this out.
No, it's hard.
Okay, so
we'll keep looking into it though.
I'll figure it out. You know I will. I'll look at it.
Maybe it's like one of those you have to do it in person. So we need an Iowa. What are they? An Iowanian? What are they called?
An Idaho? No, that's a potato.
Yeah, that's
Iowan.
Iowan.
Iowan. An Iowan. Iowan.
I almost said Idahoan. Idahoan is.
You Idahoan. Yeah, you is.
Of course I is. Idahoan.
I tried to request another case from Iowa, and I was like, I gave up because I was like, this is way too hard.
I'll look at it.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Teresa, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and I forget the last person is going to be doing the halftime show. Now I can't wait for Snoop.
Oh, for real?
Dre. Yeah.
Snoop. So the game tonight was the 49ers and the Rams. And so my husband and his family are all 49ers fans. And then my parents and my side of the family are Rams fans. I'm actually a Bears fan, but I have no skin in the game. But we had to watch it in its entirety because it was kind of a mini little rivalry in my family.
Yeah, it's a huge game.
So
your fam. I don't blame you. I have no skin in the game because the boys are out, and I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't care what anybody says,
in the game.
And I don't care how much anybody judges me. That's my deal. I just like the Cowboys. That's it. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but I'm just going to say this. Twitter, stop giving me alerts about Brady retiring. I don't
kidding.
care. I didn't.
Well, he also came out today and said that he never said he was retiring. And then he called the head honcho at the Bucks and said he has not made up his mind. So all that came out yesterday, and he's saying that that's not necessarily true. He doesn't know if he's retiring. And his dad came forward and did a interview saying he's not retiring.
Still don't care.
I really could care less. I actually was surprised that he was retiring because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to retire after losing.
No, I feel like not.
But he'll be
So-
playing until his 90s then. So
Right, they'll be wheeling him out on the field. Anyway,
Navigator
right,
says Bears. No, we've been out of the loop for so long. I know. That's why I'm like I really have no skin in the game. So
I just don't. I mean, I don't. The Cowboys are my favorite, but I will always love the skit on Saturday Night Live. Duh, Bears. It'll
okay,
always be
so
my fave.
the Bears did the Super Bowl shuffle back in 1985.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay, so when I was about 10, I redid the Super Bowl shuffle.
Oh, Teresa had a remix.
I have it on VHS. So if I could ever figure out what to do with it, like how to do it, it was me and my cousin, and we had props and all kinds of stuff, and we totally redid the Super Bowl shuffle. So like I could basically still, even at this time, sing the Super Bowl shuffle.
Let me say this. This is what you need to do. You need to get yourself a VCR and put that in, and then just take your phone and record it. Or they actually have places where you can send your VHS and they'll convert it to a DVD player.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if I could ever show that like publicly or anything. You guys may like be like, oh my gosh, like what was wrong with you? Oh yeah, so it was like a big deal. Like we got like candy and we had like drinks, and like the whole family came in and we like charged them. They had to buy drinks and candy to sit down and watch us do this performance.
You're a hustler. I love it.
It was a big thing. It was a big to do. We worked really hard on it.
You have to show it, Teresa. It has to be
We
shown.
are the Bears shuffling crew.
You have to show it. Remember Refrigerator Perry? He was my favorite.
Oh yeah, he was
My
one of my
favorite.
favorites. Walter Payton. Oh yeah, I
Mhm.
love those guys.
80s football was good
I'm
football.
baby big, but I'm no dumb cookie.
And
Totally.
I wasn't a Cowboys fan back then. I was a Wildcats fan because I was Arizona. I grew up, till I was 10. Yeah. All right.
I'm one more price jump from Netflix from dusting off the old VCR.
See, my oldest son, he hasn't bought me a Mother's Day present in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years because my standing Mother's Day present is Netflix and Hulu. So I don't get, so I don't know what it costs. Bless his little heart.
So awesome. You're like, I have no idea what that shit costs.
Well, he's like, Mom.
It's a lot.
He's like, Mom. Well, because I didn't think there were people in the world who actually paid for a Netflix subscription. I felt like there was like 5 people who paid for it, and then everybody else just used their account. You know
That's
what I
pretty much
mean?
how it goes. There's 5 people in the whole world that pay for it.
Maybe 15.
Maybe you log in and it's got like 20 different like names of like who can log in.
Yes, like 5 representatives from each country.
Well, that wouldn't work because remember when I shared your Hulu, but then I couldn't get on it when you or your kids were on it.
Yeah, you could. But you can
Navigator, you met Jim McMahon.
What?
So my sister met Jim McMahon, and he was doing a line of coke when she met him.
Oh, I'm already liking this story. He sounds like a fun guy.
She had a huge crush on him.
The only drug story I can tell y'all is that when I went to the gas station today to get my 5-hour energies and stuff, the lady that was the clerk was talking to her coworker, and I was listening, and she was talking about these 2 women who had been at the store like the day before, and a cop had followed them after they pulled into the gas station, and they were trying to hide drugs in the store. And then my slick mouth, were they good drugs?
Oh, jeez.
I said, were they good drugs? No, never mind. That's not important. But how you gonna try to hide drugs in a place that is filled with cameras? And you know where the damn cameras are because you can see them flashing in the back there. Like, you can see the screens where they're playing them in the
Hide 'em
little
in the
office.
Toilet paper holder.
They were
You
trying
go in
to
the
hide them
bathroom.
in, like, on the shelves, Shmita. Welcome to Florida.
Dummies.
And I would have ate that shit. You ain't
You gotta
catching
hide
me.
that shit in the bathroom when there's no camera.
Right? Like, what are you thinking? You just gonna stick them with the gummy bears and the Pringles? What's wrong with you? Is there some I wanted to ask, is there some they didn't find on the low? I won't tell nobody.
Yeah, just be like, I'm kind of craving a snack. Let me just see.
What aisle were they on?
See if anything catches my eye.
I feel like a snack. All right, let's
I joke
Maybe-
about that, but that is me in front of the cash register every single time, like looking at the chocolate bars, like eyeing them all up, like, oh damn, there's too many options.
I'll take one of each, please.
I go into when I go to the gas station, I get what I came for, and I don't look around because you guys know that I will move heaven and earth for snacks. I will sample snacks. I love snacks. I don't like a full meal. I like snacks, and so I can't even look. I have to be laser focused, or I'll never leave. My sister and I used to go to CVS and wander around the snack aisle, and we would get texts from our husbands. Where are you? Oh, we're at the CVS. And then they would talk amongst themselves. They're not going to be home for like 45 minutes, and they're going to come home with $800 worth of crap, mostly candy. And we wouldn't even eat it. We just like to have it.
Oh, well, that's because you're hungry. So you buy it because you think, okay, at some point or another, I'm going to want this.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I will say this. I think it goes back to my mom. She was one of those moms that never wanted us. She just wasn't a fan of kids eating candy. And so what she would do is when we trick or treated, she would, without even going through it, just automatically throw half the candy away, right? And so my sister and I got slick, and there was the bag of candy that was presented to my mom to throw away, which mainly contained all the crap candy that nobody wants. Like, we had neighbors that used to give us penny. Yeah, like black licorice, like those really dry. There's some kind of wafer thing, those orange foam peanut things I don't even think they're edible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that crap.
I don't even know if those are like legal anymore.
I don't think they are. I don't think they shouldn't be. Okay. So then that was the candy we would give to our mom. And then we'd throw a couple of sacrificial good candies on top as to fool her. And she would throw half of it away. And then we were straight. And then we would stash the candy, and we would not eat it. We just wanted to know that we had it. Just wanted to know we had it. Didn't want to eat it. I'm still like that. I will go to the store and get snacks just for them to sit in the pantry because I need to know that if I'm ever which I'm always in a snacks mood, but that all my options are covered for snacks. I like to have a variety of snacks because I have different snack moods.
I try to do that, but then I had like a cupboard where I would hide all my candy when I would bring it home, and then everybody found it. So now when I am craving that, Reese's peanut butter cup, and I go in there and it's long gone.
Put it with the cleaning supplies. Mofos never look what the cleaning supplies are.
Find them there.
Or inside your tampon box.
Well, I can't get away with that one, but I can get away with the cleaning supplies. Ain't nobody trying to get underneath the sink to bust out some Comet or some Fabulosa but me. So that's my safe. That's a safe.
My littlest, when he was a couple years back, so he's 5 now, so he's like 3. He loved the tampon box because all the tampon wrappers were different colors, and so he'd have to have one of each color, and he would just randomly come out of the bathroom with all these tampons.
Well, then he would be really surprised. He'd be like, yes, this is the best box ever. Colors and snacks.
Perfect. Okay, so Molson Man, you know where it comes from? There's a GIF on Giphy of that little girl, and she's got that sippy cup, and she's yelling snacks. And I mean, you can't hear it, but that's just the way her little mouth looks to me. Snacks. So that's what I've said it like that for a long time. Always. All right, let's see what old Jerry the Sancho has to say. Oh, hello. Let me unmute it real quick. My bad.
Is there no sounders that me?
It was me.
So can you tell us how old you are, please?
49.
And what area do you currently live in?
Around Anamosa,
And what area did you grow up in?
that same area.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
And what is it that you do?
I oversee
Good night,
all
nonstop
confinement barns.
mom.
How long have you been doing that for?
About 8 years.
And can you just briefly describe what that means when you oversee hog confinement barns?
Basically just deal with the producer that owns the building as far as care and daily care and marketing, and do all the legwork behind it. They have to do the day-to-day stuff. I take care of everything
So
else.
awkward.
And did you have a set place you would work, or did
Can
you,
you
or do you work in
imagine
different places?
Sitting
It's all
across
over.
from him like
And would
that.
it be fair to say that you go to different farms around the area that you work in?
Yes.
And do you know how many farms you work at?
At one time it was 42 or 3.
Did you do any work on the Mullis
That's a lot of
farm?
wives.
Yes.
And specifically back in 2018, did you work on the Mullis farm?
Yes.
And in what capacity did you do work at the Mullis farm?
Just overseeing their hog operation. I was there, depending on size and health, anywhere
Oh
from
my God, Mo, you beat me to it. I was
bi-weekly
going to
to,
say, as hogs
maybe
code
once a
for
month, just
wives.
depending on, like I said, sizes and health.
And how long had you been doing business with the Mullis farm?
About 7 years, probably.
Oh,
And
is that
who
what
did
you're
you
calling that
communicate
now,
with
doing
regarding
business?
the business side of the hog barns?
Usually Todd, sometimes Amy, but usually Todd.
And how would you communicate with Todd when you would communicate with him?
If I wasn't there, it was phone or text message.
And how would you communicate with Amy?
Text message or phone.
Now, at some point, did your relationship with Amy change from a business relationship to some other type of relationship?
Yes.
And when was that?
Roughly the first part of June, into May, 1st of June.
And would that
Like
be
how
in the
she
year
downplays that,
2018?
like some
Yes.
other type of
Some-
relationship.
And
Right. How many other
what kind
types of
relationship did you and
relationships
Amy
are
start
there?
then?
Had a physical relationship.
Look at Todd's face.
And how would you and Amy communicate at that time?
Oh,
Text
Amy
message.
definitely has a type.
Mm-hmm. She likes them corn-fed farm
How
boys.
often would you
With
and
no
Amy
lips.
meet
Yeah. And
for
rogue hair
this
in the
physical
back.
relationship?
Yeah.
It just depended. I mean, everything was very short. It was maybe once a week, maybe maybe more, depending on just how it worked out.
And you indicated that you would communicate by way of text message
Yes.
primarily. And this was a sexual relationship, correct?
Yes.
And would you and Amy at times talk also about your relationship when you were together?
Now say that again.
Would you and Amy talk about your relationship
If you mean by text message,
by text message or in person?
not really.
Did you talk about your future with Amy?
A little bit, yes.
And initially, when you first started seeing Amy, what kind of things would you talk about in the future?
Talked about there was a chance we could end up together.
At the time that this was happening, that you had started this relationship with Amy, were you married?
Yes.
And Amy was married as well.
Yes.
Welcome
What, if
back.
anything,
I've learned a
happened
lot.
in July 2018?
Todd confronted me about a bunch of text messages. And then I denied it and said it was over some other stuff, dealing with kids and sports and showing livestock. And a couple days later, he called my wife and talked to her about it. And then approximately 2 days later, he called both of us back and apologized to both of us and said he should have handled it different.
Now, let me just stop you. When you say that Todd confronted you, do you know the exact date that he did?
No, I don't.
Would it be fair to say that it was the end of July 2018?
It was sometime in July.
And how was it that Todd confronted you?
Called me.
And what do you remember him saying to you?
Just that she had texted me a lot of times in a day and wanted to know why or if it was possible.
And when you say she, do you mean Amy?
Amy, yes.
And what was your response to Todd?
I just said that she was texting me and it was over kids playing sports, showing livestock, things like that.
Now, you
wanna
indicated
see
that
those
around that
texts.
same time, Todd called your wife.
Yeah, a couple days later after he confronted or called me about it.
Good
he
night,
called my
Salty
wife.
C.
And he called her the
Also want
first
to know
time.
how well he
Yes.
knows
Do you know what
Terry.
that conversation consisted
Just
of?
basically told her
Night,
that
Salty.
we were communicating by text message a lot.
And then you indicated that a few days later, there was a second
Yes.
call to your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
He just called to apologize.
Did he also apologize to you?
Yes.
Now, did you and Amy ever have a conversation about the fact that Todd confronted you?
Yes, I told her he did.
And what, if anything, did Amy tell you?
She was upset that he did it. and
Did she
that's-
also tell you that he confronted her?
I don't remember.
Now, after you were confronted by Todd, did you and Amy decide that you were going to communicate a different type of way?
Yeah, I told her that we needed to slow down and we couldn't text anymore. So she wanted to do an email.
Did you then set up a Gmail account?
Yes.
And after July 2018, would you use that Gmail account to communicate with Amy?
Yes.
And Amy also had a Gmail account.
Yes.
And then you would both use those accounts, to speak with each other.
Yes.
Now, you indicated that you did tell Amy that you needed to slow things down.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes. I'm sorry.
But you did still continue to see Amy,
Yes.
and you still continued to communicate with Amy up until her death.
Yes.
And you still would communicate with Amy using those Gmail accounts.
Yes.
What, if anything, did Amy tell you about her relationship with Todd when you would be with her?
She really didn't say much. We didn't talk about relationships much other than I know she wasn't happy.
Did she tell you how Todd treated her?
She made different notes or not notes, but said she felt like a slave or a hostage around there.
Now, did Amy ever tell you whether or not she was planning on leaving Todd?
She said she was wanting to.
Did you and Amy ever have any conversations about what Todd would do if he found out she was having an affair?
One time she did say that if he ever found out, she would disappear.
Were you afraid about Todd finding out about your affair?
Yes.
Why?
Oh, why wouldn't you be? I mean, if you're having a relationship with somebody's wife, you would not want them to find out.
Generally, where would you and Amy meet?
Usually just on a gravel road somewhere.
And there were a couple times where you guys made plans to meet in different areas and in different locations.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Amy?
I don't know the exact date. It was sometime before she had her surgery.
And where did you meet that time?
I don't remember.
And that time that you met, do you believe it was days before her surgery?
Yeah, it'd have been a few days before.
And did you guys have sexual relations that day?
I don't honestly remember.
You previously talked to
Lies.
police about all of these things, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you talked to the police shortly after Amy's death.
Yes.
And you indicated to them that you believe the last time you saw her that you did have some type of sexual relations.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was not sex. It was oral.
So you do recall that there was some type of
There would
oral
have been
sex.
some of that. Yes, not sex. I guess
Yeah, because she was bleeding.
And you and Amy would communicate by
nonstop.
text messages approximately 15 to 40 messages a day, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And that was up until November 10th.
Yeah, I guess. I assume.
Now, Jerry, where were you on November 10th, 2018?
I was at home.
And what area do you live in?
I live around Anamosa.
And how far is Anamosa from the Mullis farm?
Probably 45 miles, 45 minutes.
What did you do that morning?
My son was home from college. We show pigs. I'd actually bought a tanning bed to tan some pigs in the winter because their pigment doesn't get sun in the winter. So we hung a tanning bed in the barn, and then we cleaned the barn and walked our pigs that morning.
And were you with your son all morning?
Yes.
And was anybody else at your home when you were there?
No.
Now, on November 10th, 2018, did you see Amy Mullis
November, no,
on the day of her death?
no,
Did you at any point go to the Mullis farm?
no.
Jerry, on the day of Amy's death, did you communicate with her that morning?
Yes.
And how was it that you communicated with her?
Email.
And did those emails start at approximately 7:40 in the morning?
I don't remember the time, but I'm sure they did.
Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
Are there pictures of these
I'll ask that
tanning
you look
pigs?
at
I
the
want to
pictures
see
that I
those.
just handed you. Do you
I'm
recognize
stuck on
those?
that too.
Yes.
I picture a little
Judge, just for
pig
the
laying
record,
in
I've
a
marked those
tanning
as
bed.
State's Exhibit 110.
If you
They
over,
were on the proposed
Do they
list,
have
Judge. We
like
will upload them.
are they
The
darker on one side
glasses?
than on the other?
if you
Well, do they
overdo it,
wear the
are
glasses?
but if you overdo it, are they bacon? What happens?
You put lotion on them?
Wouldn't it be just better and healthier to spray tan them?
Oh, just paint them. Shit. I
have
feel a
never
meme
heard of
coming. I
this.
know, right?
I do. Mo, you love the memes. Come on, I know some of you, all y'all do. Let's get some tanning bed piggies with the little googles, the goggles.
Poor pigs.
Can you imagine being a pig and being like, "What fresh hell is this? They're tanning us.
They're fucking cooking us alive.
What's happening? PETA! Somebody call PETA. This can't be right."
Don't go into the light.
Oh, hey, Desired, how are you? Good to see you too. What are they doing? How does that affect their? Oh, well, if they're show pigs, they don't eat them, right? Well, Wilbur was a show pig. Oh, this is going to go someplace dark for me. Let me just go ahead and push play.
Jerry, do you know what that is that I just handed you?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the emails from that morning.
And are those emails between your Gmail account and Amy's Gmail account?
Yes.
And do you recall that those are the messages that you sent Amy and Amy sent you that morning?
Yes.
And it appears to be a true and accurate copy of those exchanges.
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that State's Exhibit 110 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection? No objection. Exhibit 110 is admitted.
Your Honor, permission to publish to the jury.
Yes.
Jerry, at the top, it indicates the Gmail address, jerryfrazier70 at gmail.com. Is that the Gmail account you set up?
Yes.
And it
Shazzle
also indicates
Dazzle's handle
the
was
Gmail
better.
account of Amy Lynn 5810 at gmail.com. Is that the Gmail account that you would email Amy to?
Yes.
Now I'm going to scroll down here on this exhibit till the end, which would be the end of yours. Do you see at the bottom there on November 10th, 2018 at 7:40 a.m., there was an email from Amy to you?
Yes.
And what does that email indicate or say?
It says, morning, I'm good all day, love you.
And at approximately, or at 7:50 a.m. on that same date, did you then respond from your Gmail account?
Yes.
And what did you respond?
It just says, morning, I slept horrible, must have slept too much in the late day yesterday.
And I'm going to go up to the same date at 8:04 a.m. Did Amy then respond to you from that same Gmail account?
Yeah, and on this one, I think I can't see it. It says sent from my iPhone the November 10th down there, but there's nothing below it.
I think if you go to the next
So it says not really?
Are you new to email, Jerry?
do you see that other part? If you go to the next page, do you see it?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's on the bottom of the next page. It says, bummer, we'll take it easy today. Take some NyQuil or Benadryl tonight. Says bummer. Well, take it easy today. Take some NyQuil or Benadryl tonight. You'll sleep amazing. You probably don't feel any better since you didn't sleep good, I assume.
Now, if you go up from there at 8:06 a.m., you responded and wrote, "Not really."
Yes.
At 8:10 a.m., Amy from that same account then responded to you, and what did she write?
Says, well, that sucks. Wish I could be there to take care of you. I'm a pretty good nurse. I don't like to see you sick.
At 8:41 a.m., did you then respond?
I said, I'll get better.
And then at 8:49, what did Amy write?
Says, well, you better. I'm not ready to part ways yet, Fraser. Do you have anything to do today?
And what did you respond at 9:18 a.m.?
I said, just need to go.
And at 9:30 a.m., did Amy respond?
It says, I see. We'll rest up today then.
And at 10:12 a.m., did Amy then write you another message?
Says, you know what I'm doing today? Cleaning fucking like fixtures in the barn. WTF.
And did you respond at 10:14 a.m.?
I said, nice.
And was that the last time you communicated with Amy?
Yes.
Now, Jerry, you indicated that the day that this happened, you were in Anamosa,
Yes.
and you indicated that to the police, correct?
Yes.
Did you also give the police access to your Gmail account and your phone records?
Yes.
And you were in, as you indicated, you were in Anamosa all day.
Yes.
I have nothing further. Your
No coolest reviews. I
Cross-examination.
absolutely do not hear an agitated cat in the back of my headphones. I
Your history with the
promise.
Mullis farm
Alice
goes back
is
about 7
asleep.
years.
Yes.
And I believe you said the frequency ranged from a couple times a week, maybe once a month.
Yes.
Were there times of the year when there were no pigs at the Mullis place that didn't require you to be there?
Yes.
What was there basically a repeating time of the year when that would happen?
And once they'd sold all their market hogs, there was a downtime to get the barn cleaned before new pigs come in.
Hey, Paula. Good to see you.
The relationship you said began to be a personal, physical relationship end of May, 1st of June.
Yes.
And that at first, both of you felt that there could be a possible long-term relationship developing.
Yes.
Then you got the call from Todd about the significant number of text messages that he apparently had seen, assumably on Amy's phone. And your reaction was lots of contacts involve kids, sports, showing pigs,
Yes.
all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Did he seem satisfied with that?
He did.
Would you say that his, I realize this was over the phone, but was he angry at you or just, hey, what's going on?
He was just what was going on.
And at the end of that conversation, or as in the time after it, you felt okay that you had satisfied his concerns and curiosity.
Yes, he asked us to quit texting and we did.
Did you,
You quit
Did he say
texting and
anything about
started
calling your
sending
wife?
emails.
I don't remember if he said anything about it, but
He didn't say anything
of course,
about
she told me as soon
emailing.
as he did it.
was your wife take on this that he was a little crazy?
Yeah.
But in any event, he called back.
May
within
the
a few
odds
days
ever
and
be in your
apologized to
favor,
both of you.
coolest
Yes.
reviews. Good luck with that.
So you're placing this around sometime in July.
Yeah, mid-July, mid to the end of July.
You continue to provide professional services through your company to the Mullises up through the time of Amy's death.
Yes.
And that involved contacts with Todd,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
more so with Todd than Amy?
Yes.
Would this be times when you would come to the farm and meet with him personally?
Yes.
Did he ever show any animosity towards you or anger that he still suspected something of you?
Never.
Was there a time around when the state fair was running in Des Moines that at least it was discussed between you and Amy that you might get together there?
Yes.
Did that happen?
One time it did. One night it did. Yes.
Okay. Did she continue to say anything about, you mentioned that she said she felt like a slave or a hostage or something. Did it appear to you that she had significant independence and could do things on her own?
A little bit, but Todd even said that he had to know where she was at all times. He told me that.
Did she share with you that she was spending quite a bit of time away from the farm because of a death of a grandparent and a health issue with an uncle?
Yes, I knew she was doing some of that.
Okay. Would you have visited the farm in the months of September and October?
Yes.
We all want to know that, Molson man.
It seems from the evidence
It's
that
me.
we've
I'm
heard
everybody.
so far that it was during those months that both, well, I guess grandma died in the summer, but then this uncle had this serious health issue in September, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know time frames.
Okay.
You don't know time frames because you didn't
But
care. Stop playing.
Based on your personal relationship with Amy, you would know that if she had left the farm and gone to be with family.
She would tell me she was leaving.
Did Todd ever express any dissatisfaction with the fact that she was away a lot during those months? It's harvest time, bad weather apparently was happening.
Not to me, no.
Okay. Jerry, I think when we had a deposition earlier in the summer, I asked you if there was a time when, and I think you said today, you talked to Amy about maybe slowing things down.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Do you think you were more interested in doing that than she was?
Yes. Yes.
And also, not that, well, you had indicated that at some point, or there's some of the discovery materials that you felt that you had had sexual relations with her 100 times.
And that number's probably far-fetched, I'll be honest.
Okay.
So you were lying then?
And this
but you're
was
telling
whether
the
it's
truth
gravel
now.
roads or cars or hog buildings, some motels.
Now, there was maybe a couple, and they were
There
an
is
hour in the
Team
afternoon.
Psych Ward. And Todd called her.
And into the fall months, would you say that you were taking more of an effort to try to cool this thing off?
I would still communicate with her. When she communicated, I would communicate back.
But you weren't trying to lead her on that this was going to be a long-term relationship.
I was upfront with her and told her that if she was going to leave, she had to do it on her own terms and for herself, not for me.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Wowie, wow, wow, wow.
That guy is so boring.
This is what I need to know. How is he a upgrade from Todd?
Right? How did he woo her?
Even his email woo was subpar.
I'll be fine.
It seems like he wasn't as interested. She's like, I'm not ready to let you go, Mr. Frazier. And he's like, I'll be fine. And she's like, well, what can I do? He's like, nothing, I gotta go. Okay,
Yeah.
then. I'll
Takes-
talk to you later.
Then he told her to double up on NyQuil and Benadryl. Not a good idea. In fact, NyQuil on the back of it will tell you not to take Benadryl. Benadryl on the back of it will tell you not to take NyQuil.
But she was a great nurse.
They're not
Well, in
peanut
my
butter and
opinion-
jelly.
And I think she was the one looking up the rings and the dress shops. So she was way into it.
Yeah, I think that to me, it seems like, bless her heart, I think Amy, I don't think she was like a party girl or whatever. I don't think she wanted her freedom, like to be single and all that business. I think that she just wanted away from Todd for whatever reason. But I will say this, regardless of whether at the end of this decide that I feel that Todd is guilty or innocent, it had to be very difficult for him to sit at that table and listen to that man speak about his wife in such a flip, nonchalant, yeah, we might have banged on some gravel roads or at a motel, or we had, or like as if she were nothing.
Right.
And that had to be upsetting.
As of right now, the votes are 58% innocent and 42% guilty.
Okay. It's just,
I'm just going to say that's reasonable doubt right there. That's a hung jury.
That's a
Yes.
hung jury. That's a hung jury. I just find this, obviously we're never going to know like all the ins and outs until I promise you guys, I will get on the Googles and I will find a way to request those. Even if I have to call, I'll wait on hold. I don't care. I'll wait.
I'm wondering if his wife is in the courtroom.
I wonder as well.
Like, is he downplaying, acting like that because his wife is there? Like, I told you, it didn't mean anything. It's just sex. Like,
Right.
you know, and like,
I
look,
don't think they're together anymore.
they're not. Were
Well,
they
at the
time of the
beginning,
trial?
right, at the beginning, the state said, "Were you at the time married?"
Oh,
Well, that's the correct.
question.
That's the correct
Right.
tense of questioning to use. Not are you at the time married? Because that would mean today. Are you married today? Were you back in 2018, which would be the past, which were is the correct tense. So they asked that right. I feel, and what's even more interesting about it is that when he was confronted, it wasn't an actual confrontation. I'm telling you right now, if it were my husband, he's not fixing to confront some other dude over the phone. He's going to roll up. Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
It wouldn't be over the phone. And especially if he was going to confront the other man and the other man's, hey, Gwenty, and the other man's wife. Their impression of him would not be, man, that dude's crazy. Their impression of him would be, man, let me text her and give her a heads up. She needs to be away from the home. He's pissed.
Right.
That's what
I
it would
really
be.
want to know if she had her phone on her in the red barn.
Tristan
And
said
somebody
he saw her texting.
No,
No,
that didn't happen. That's somebody else's theory, isn't it?
no, I'm pretty sure that that Tristan was asked if he saw his mom on her phone, and I think he said yes.
No, because he found her in the barn, supposedly already stabbed.
He found her what?
Already stabbed.
Oh, yeah, but I'm saying he did, okay, not the red barn. They've got like 37 barns on that thing. I mean, it's confusing. At some point, he testified to being around her and she was on her phone.
Well,
Am I-
Okay.
at 10,
But
12,
I'm
she
talking
was
about
on her
in the.
phone.
I'm talking about if somebody rolled up into the red barn and she was in the middle of texting, and so she got busted and it got heated from there.
Well, she had to have had her phone, though.
Yeah.
Because at 10, 12, she was messaging him.
Yeah.
And that's after they were out in the barn. So
Yes.
that's either while she's in the hog barn with them or while she's in the red barn or going to the red barn. It has to be somewhere in that time frame. Because that's
See?
by what noon is when they're driving and they're calling 911.
Yeah, and the only person who was on the move, if it as it were, was Tristan.
Exactly. So could he have walked in, saw her texting, got pissed off, and did something?
Yes, and it's also possible that he could have seen her, caught her, told his dad, and then his dad confronted him. Both are possible.
True.
They're, in my opinion, they're going to have the prosecution is going to have to do a lot more work to put that corn rake in Todd's hands and his alone.
I
They
agree.
don't
And
have
I
me
think
yet.
there's could have been a lot more testing done. Like under her fingernails weren't tested. That's weird to me.
Well, it's possible that the reason they weren't tested is because Todd didn't have any scratches on him. And so those tests aren't cheap for the state to
Right.
run those tests. And so they would, what, babe?
Gwen said free Todd. I was just checking.
Yes, free Todd. Because those tests aren't cheap. And so,
Well, neither is somebody's life in prison.
well, yes, but here's the thing. The defense could have asked for them to be tested.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why the defense didn't get any experts of their own, like
Why
the
isn't there
Google expert.
like
That's the one you're going to get pissed off about.
a crime
needed
scene
to have a
reconstruction
Google expert.
Like, why not have a crime scene reconstruction expert that shows that this is possible?
Yeah, I would like to see that. And I would have liked for the prosecution or the defense, either one. Good night, Max 2002. Thanks for coming, babe. It's always good to see you. I would like for them to have asked for the second blow with the rake, what position they thought her body was in. Was she down already? And so the corn rake came in at a rather than a straight across, like two people standing upright,
Exactly.
being attacked from the back, and then was the second when she was lower, which is what caused it to be from above and in a downward motion. They should have explained those injuries to the jurors a little better.
Yeah, that's why I don't think that his defense did a very good job, because when you get to the Google stuff, you'll be begging for an expert.
For all of it.
I'm
a forensic expert, like anything.
Right.
Kenny, she was killed November 10th, 2018, and then the trial was September of 2019.
We know she died between 10-12 a.m. That's her last communication.
Correct.
On her phone. And then they're on, I think it's, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like 12:09. Was it something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
So
I don't know if you want to go ahead and do Patricia and Carrie. It's 34 minutes, but you can probably speed it up, because the next one is the deputy that goes over the iPad, and it's an hour and 40 minutes.
Well, do the friends have anything pertinent that we need to know?
I think Patricia may be her sister, and she has text messages.
yeah, we could throw them in now if you want, and then we can start off with the deputy.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, because he's going to take a long time.
So we should do him tomorrow? Okay, all right. So
yeah.
let me...
the deputy with the iPad Google, he's an hour and 41. And then the special agent, John, that did the interrogation, he's 2 hours. So.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. So we'll get to them first. All right.
And then we got Todd, and I think he's like an hour and a half, maybe, if I remember right.
He's an hour and a half for the defense, and then he's an hour and a half for cross.
Oh shit. Okay, it's 3 hours. Okay.
3 hours.
And then there's his brother and another guy, but they're only like 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, let's hear what these girls have to say. Here we go.
You can probably speed it up.
Okay, I heard you.
Confirm that the
Sorry,
testimony
sorry.
you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat. State your name and spell it for the record, please.
Patricia Christopherson, Patricia Christopherson.
If it's too fast for you guys, let us know.
Patricia,
Yeah,
how
tell
old are
me
you?
if it's too
30?
fast.
Where do you currently live?
This sounds normal
And where
to
are you
me
from?
because that's
From
how I
Garner?
roll all the
Are you
days.
employed?
Exactly. That's why I'm like,
Office
we're gonna need to
manager at
tell
Memorial
us, 'cause
Services
this
of
is,
Iowa.
And where's that
I'm
located?
1.5,
And
1.75,
who do you live with? My
2.
husband and my daughter.
How
Yeah,
old is your daughter?
that's where I'm at. I hardly ever
did you
use
know
the
Amy Mullis?
1.25 or
How did you know Amy?
1.5.
My husband and my family, we live next to Amy's mom and stepdad,
And what are their names?
Randy and Peg.
And is there also a
I
name?
don't know if there is on this one,
When do
but
you,
there
if you recall, when did you
is
first meet Amy?
I don't remember the exact timeline, but it was
coming
shortly
up.
after my
I
daughter was
can't
born.
remember. I've watched so much now.
My daughter took to Randy and Peg like Nana and Papa, so we would go over there a lot. And Taylor came down for tumbling, and so then they started coming down more frequently.
And when you refer to Taylor, is that Taylor Mullis?
Yes,
And is that Amy and Todd's daughter?
correct.
And when you say she was tumbling, do you know what kind of tumbling she was involved in?
Gymnastics of some sort. I don't. know what the term
Okay,
may
so
be.
she's a
And would Amy
friend,
often
but
come
they
up to her
have
when
a
she had
group
tumbling or gymnastics competitions?
chat.
Yes.
How often would you talk or communicate with Amy?
On a
Not
weekly to
group
every other day
chats.
basis.
Those
And
never
how is it that
turn
you
out
would
good.
communicate with her?
Usually through text messages.
Well, no, she's actually a good friend.
Is there times you would
Okay,
also
good.
see Amy?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
We would hang out next door at Randy and Peg's, play cards.
And would that be when Amy came into Ankeny and stayed with her mom and stepdad?
Yes.
Did Amy confide in you?
Yes.
And what kind of things would you and Amy talk about?
We would talk about their marriage, their kids, life in general between both of us.
And when you say their marriage, do you mean Amy and Todd's marriage?
Yes.
In June 2018, do you remember starting to talk to Amy a little bit more about her marriage and what was going on in her life?
I do. Yes.
And do you remember the first time that you started talking about that?
It was on June 28th. She said she needed to unload, and I asked her about what. I said marriage or kids, and she said her marriage. She wasn't happy.
For Amy not
in her marriage,
wanting
and
to
she hadn't
get
been happy
out,
for
she sure
many
did
years.
tell a whole
Patricia, where
lot
did
of
this
people.
conversation take place?
She
text
talks
messages.
too much.
And
Loose lips sink ships.
did Amy tell you anything else at that time?
This is the first time she told me
Very
that she had
well
an affair
started a YouTube channel.
4 years ago, and then she also told me that she was currently having an affair as well.
And did she tell you anything about
I
the
might
person
have
that she's
been-
currently having the affair with?
She told me that he was their field manager.
And did Amy tell you whether or not she had any type of plan for her future?
He made her happy. She had talked about wanting to get married eventually with him.
And with him, do you mean the person she was having the affair with?
Yes.
And did Amy ever talk to you about her children?
Yes.
And around that time in June 2018, do you remember having a conversation with Amy about the kids?
I believe so. I don't remember specifically.
Did you ever have a conversation with Amy about Tristan?
She said Tristan was becoming a lot like Todd.
And did she say anything else about that?
I don't recall.
Do you remember in July having another conversation with Amy about her affair with Todd?
Yes.
I'm sorry, about her relationship with Todd.
Yes.
And was that in person or text message?
Text message.
And what did Amy tell you at that time?
She said things weren't getting any better. I can't remember exactly what else was said. Can you refresh my memory?
Yes.
Patricia, I just handed you state's exhibit number 68, I believe. Is that right? Can you look through that? I think you are. Can you look through those briefly and then look up when you're done doing that?
Patricia's awfully out of breath. We're not asking you to talk at double speed. You've already talked. We've just sped you up. Why are you huffing and a puffing, ma'am? What's happening? You all right?
She probably folded her laundry before she came live.
Sorry, were you able to look over what I just handed you?
Yes.
And what is it?
These are text messages between me and Amy, referring to July 5th. She said things weren't getting any easier, and I said to her, he must be blind or he doesn't care how you're feeling.
Now, let me just ask you a few questions. You had a chance to look at, I believe that's State's Group Exhibit number 68 is several pages, is that correct?
Yes.
And have you previously seen copies of the same things that I just handed you?
Yes.
And do they appear to be text messages between you and Amy Mullis?
Yes.
And were those, did you actually give these text messages to the police in this case?
I did.
And after you looked through them, are they a true and accurate copy of the messages between you and Amy Mullis?
They are.
And those start in June 28th, 2018.
Correct.
And they go until November 2018.
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask to admit into evidence State's Exhibit number 68.
Any objection? 68 is admitted.
And Judge, I'm not going to display all of them because they're very large. I would just ask that the witness be allowed to refer to them if she need to.
That's fine.
Now, Patricia, In that July 5th, 2018 conversation, did Amy tell you anything else about her relationship with Todd?
She said he didn't trust her.
And did Amy say anything to you around that time about a divorce from Todd?
I mentioned if she wanted to get a divorce.
And did Amy respond to you?
I asked Amy if Todd wanted to get a divorce, and she said no, because only reason is he would lose half of everything, and it is socially unacceptable.
And did Amy indicate to you whether or not she was planning on working it out with Todd, or if she was done?
She said she was done.
Did you guys talk about anything else in that same conversation?
We talked about them making plans to get a divorce after Jerry's daughter graduated from high school.
Now, Patricia, do you remember another conversation that you had with Amy also referring, around the time that her grandmother was sick?
Yes.
And was that conversation in person or text message?
There was both that day.
And I don't know if you could find it in the text messages in front of you. I think it was near July 26, 2018.
Yes.
And were you aware that Amy's grandmother was sick?
Yes.
And that was in the end of July 2018?
Correct.
And what was your conversation with Amy at that time, or what was the context of it?
She said shit was going to hit the fan because Todd had called Jerry's wife.
Did she indicate to you anything additionally about her plan to leave Todd?
At that time, no.
Did she,
I have
when
to
you say that she said she was
apologize.
going
I
to hit the fan,
forgot
did she
to
say anything
mute
else about
my
Todd
chat before I started recording this.
in your text messages?
Oh, are those your notifications?
Yes, I was like, dang it, I need to message them and tell them to stop
Around that
talking.
same time,
But
did you
then I
have
was
an
like, well,
in-person
then that'll
conversation
bing it.
Yes, we did.
And where did that conversation take place?
It took place on Randy and Peg's deck.
And do you recall when that conversation was?
It was July 26th that evening.
Was anybody else present for that conversation?
No.
And what did you and Amy start talking about on that day?
I asked her why Todd would want to call Jerry's wife, and she honestly had no idea. I told her that Jerry must have done a good job covering it up if his wife still didn't expect anything. We went on to have a conversation about that Todd gave her $1,500 to do whatever she wanted with it, and I suggested to her to save it for divorce fees. And she went on to tell me that Todd did not allow her to have a debit card, only checks and a credit card. She went on, I asked her why she stayed, and she said she was scared of Todd, and if he found out about wanting a divorce or an affair, that he would kill her.
Did she tell you anything else about if anything ever happened, or if she ever went missing, what to do?
She told me, don't be surprised if Todd did something.
Now, when Amy told you that she was scared of Todd, were you surprised to hear that?
Yes.
Why?
I didn't know Todd. I only met Todd twice. And at that point, I had no idea who Todd was. I didn't know his personality. I just knew that Amy was scared of him. He had a bad temper, and that's all I knew.
And you didn't learn that information until July 26, 2018?
Hey, Sugar Beet.
Yes, correct.
And when you say you've met Todd twice, what are the two times you've met Todd?
I met Todd for the first time at Amy's grandmother's visitation, and then I met him again at Amy's visitation.
Now, did you also have some text conversations with Amy on August 1st, 2018?
Yes.
And what were the nature of those text messages?
She was telling me that she was going to meet Jerry and Albert Lee because he was judging pigs up there. She just wanted to let me know where she was, so somebody knew.
Now, in the months of August and September, did you still communicate with Amy?
Yes.
And was that by way of text message?
Usually.
And sometimes in person when she would come to Ankeny?
Correct.
And during those months in August and September, would she still talk to you about her relationship with Todd and with Jerry?
Yes.
Around October 15th, 2018, did you receive some messages from Amy?
Yes.
And what were the nature of those text messages?
She had just left Ankeny after being with her uncle. She texted me and told me
Hey, Sugar Beet.
that she went to Todd's mom's house to pick up one of the kids, and Todd's mom got upset with her because she felt like Amy was enabling her mom to be the way that she was enabling her, and that her mom should be over her mother's death by now. And she tried to grab Amy's arm and told her to get the hell out of her house. And then she tried to tell her that she could not take Wyatt with her.
And is Wyatt one of their children as well?
Yes.
And did Amy tell you anything that she said to Todd after that happened?
I asked her what Todd said, and he did call her and stick up for her.
And that's what Amy told you, correct?
Correct.
And did Amy also tell you that she told Todd that if he ever does anything like this again, she'll take the kids and be gone?
Yes.
Now, in October 2018, did you continue to have conversations with Amy in text and in person?
Yeah, things started to slow down after that.
And when you say slow down, what do you mean by that?
We just didn't talk about Jerry or Todd anymore. I tried to refocus her to, we tried to be active together, tried to be an accountability partner to work out. So I tried to focus more towards that rather than the negative that was going on.
And on November 6, 2018, did you have a conversation with Amy?
Yes.
And what was the nature of that conversation?
That was the day she had surgery. I texted her and told her good luck.
Did you have any contact with her after that?
Very little.
Did she send you on November 9th? When was the last time that you guys exchanged text messages?
She sent me a picture of the bruise on her
A
arm. from the
cheat
IV,
weekend.
and
I wonder
that
what
was
she
the
meant
last
by
text
that.
message that happened.
And that was on November 9th, 2018?
Correct.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Ma'am, I believe you said that you've only met in person Todd Mullis twice.
Correct.
And what were those occasions?
Amy's grandmother's visitation and Amy's visitation.
Time-wise, minutes, hours, how much time did you spend with him?
Minutes.
So your assessment of Todd as a person is based on those two observations and what Amy told you about him.
That'd be correct.
I'm looking at the very first text on June 28th on Exhibit 68. It says, it's from her, from Amy. Next time I come, we are getting our tats. Ohana.
Yes.
What's Ohana?
It means family in Hawaiian.
So that was a tattoo design thing?
We went to Florida early in June, and we just talked about wanting to get tattoos, and we wanted to get Ohana.
Oh, they came to Florida and caught the crazy. This is
Myself, my
terrible.
husband, Randy, Peg, Amy, Taylor, and Wyatt.
Do you know how Amy had researched or looked for this Ohana tattoo thing?
It was something we discussed in Florida.
Sugar beet, it's on faster
looking through
speeds. I don't know if
A number
she's
of texts where you talk
blinking
about
that fast.
just girlfriend type things, some about her marriage, her relationship with Jerry. I'm looking down to
She is blinking fast because
August
I'm
30th.
watching Todd, and his blink rate isn't accelerated because
top
it's on
page, look at
faster.
page number 35 in big black numbers.
Okay. Well, I think that's so funny.
Okay.
She just blinks a lot, I think.
Looks like the
I don't
message
know.
from her to you, and this is the first one since, according to this printout, since August 17th. This is August 30th at 4:22 p.m., right?
Come on
Thank you,
vacation, leave on
GF, works
probation.
very well. You responded. She says, fun, as good as I can, had some ups and downs, but Jerry and I are good. Got to find a weekend to get our tats done. Still can't decide on wrist or neck. That's this Ohana thing, right?
Correct.
How are the kids doing? She says, pretty good. Boys hate school, of course. That's not new. You laugh. That's the end of that conversation. Did she tell you that on or about this same day or the day before that she was calling people at the hospital back in Manchester and calling other people just frantic, crying, upset that there were some maybe rumors about her affair with Jerry?
I was not aware of that, no.
So on the 30th, everything seems hunky-dory.
To the text messages, yes.
And then it looks like a lot that what follows starts to deal
Hey,
with this
Cat's
uncle's
chick.
health problem, right?
Correct.
And you were a supporting person for her during that period.
Yes.
Unlike Tear Bear.
She got upset because Todd's mother chastised
I'm
her.
sorry that happened to you, Shamina.
Did she tell you that Todd stood up to his mother and defended her about that?
I asked her what Todd said, and she did say that Todd called her and said that wasn't appropriate.
And this would have been somewhere around the middle of October.
October 15th.
Then it looks like on November 1st, now it's on page 60, that big black number up in the corner.
Yes.
Basically, she's really sharing with you that she's having some medical issues.
Yes.
And that's why they were doing oral sex.
And then that carries over to November 6th when she
She's
had
not a
procedure.
criminal defense
Check it out.
attorney. She can read. Y'all tell me what that movie's
It
from.
doesn't seem to be in those last September, October periods, a lot of talk about her having any problems with Todd around as far as their marriage relationship. And I understand she's talked some about Jerry,
Probably a movie
as
I've
far as her
never
and
even
Todd.
heard of.
No.
You've heard of Boys in the Hood,
Yeah, we
surely.
mentioned
Come on,
her
Shamita.
testimony.
I've quoted it before.
Well, then I know of
I
your
believe we'll
quote.
flip back to July
That movie,
26th.
though? Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Put it
July
on the
26th.
list. Things for Shamita to
Really
watch
sticks out
when
in
she comes
that
to
big
the
bold
Floridas.
number at the top 17.
Yes.
Amy's text to you should be home by then. Shit is going to hit the fan very soon at my house. Headed to see Jima and eat. I'm sure you'll see us come home. Brought some food. You say thank you. Then she tells you that Todd had called Jerry's wife. I'm thinking of it, within a month I'll be gone. And on a positive note, check out my new Jeep. Where did this Jeep come from?
Oh, she got a new Jeep.
Todd bought it for her?
I don't know. Usually couples buy vehicles together.
Okay. Did
It
she also
came
tell you
from
that
the
he'd give her
Jeep store. Where do you
Amy
think?
told me that. Yeah, we had a conversation about that night.
Did she say what that $1,500 was for?
She told me Todd told her to do whatever she wanted with it, and I told her to save it for
What
divorce
a
fees.
monster.
This sounds
And I believe,
horrible.
we asked you back a few weeks ago in depositions
God.
if Amy ever seemed to restrict herself and the kids from purchasing anything because she didn't have any money, and you said no.
When they were down to see us, usually we spent a lot of time over at Randy and Peg, so we didn't go out to eat a lot with them. If they did, I don't know what they did when we weren't around.
She went on this trip to Florida with kids.
Yeah, that was for Taylor.
It's pretty spicy. Get it, Patricia?
I knew she did. Yes,
Do you know when that was?
I don't.
All right. Well, thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, ma'am. You can step down.
Well, thanks.
State your name and spell it, please.
Carrie Callan, Carrie Callan.
Go ahead, Council.
Thank you. Carrie, how old are you?
43.
And what area do you currently live in?
Central City.
I remember this
And where
girl
did you
in her
grow up?
face.
Manchester, Iowa.
Are you currently employed?
Yes.
What is your occupation?
Tax and regulatory analyst.
Do you do any other type of work as well?
Yes. I am a graphic designer in a t-shirt shop,
And where is that t-shirt shop located?
Earlville, Iowa.
And who owns that t-shirt shop?
Sarah Richter.
What kind of things do you do there?
I do designing of the shirts. I print shirts. That's mostly it.
Did you know Amy Mullis?
Yes.
How did you know Amy?
Through working there
When you say working there,
at the t-shirt shop.
did it have a name?
Creative Memories Embroidery.
And when did Amy start working there?
2014.
And when did you start working there?
2014.
What kind of things would Amy do at the t-shirt shop?
She would run embroidery machines and she would weave designs.
Now, just kind of explain briefly what the setup was at the t-shirt shop. Would you go in Monday through Friday, or how did it work?
No, it was just something that I did on the weekends. And I'm not sure how often she was there, but I went just
She
Saturdays.
does
and
look
once in a while
like
on
a
Sunday.
Karen.
And you don't know exactly every time Amy was there?
No.
Would she also be there on the weekends?
Yes.
And how did it work? Did you get called in, or how was it that you and Amy would know that there was work that needed to be done?
Generally, I would check in with the employer on Friday nights, Thursday nights, just depends, and try to schedule when I was going to be there and how long I would need to be there.
Do you know Todd Mullis?
Yes.
How do you know Todd?
I went to school with him.
And when you say school,
High school and middle school in the Coconut Valley.
and throughout the time that you worked with Amy at the t-shirt shop, at times would people from her family be there as well?
Yes.
And who would come there?
The kids, Tristan, Taylor, and Wyatt.
How would you and Amy communicate?
While there, or
I'm sorry, I'll rephrase that. When you and Amy were together at the shop, would you talk?
yes,
And then other than that, would you communicate in any other ways?
through text message generally.
And what kind of things would you text about?
Usually it's
No,
just
we stayed
if we
mute the whole
needed to
time.
see when each other were going to be there. So
We
would
were on the
text.
clock. Of course we didn't
And in
talk. What's
October
wrong with you asking me
2018,
that
Did you
question?
have a text conversation
Want me
with
to lose
Amy?
my job?
October when?
I'm sorry, October 2018.
Yes.
And do you remember having a conversation with her around that time?
Yes.
And do you remember what the conversation was about? Carrie, did you give copies of text messages between you and Amy from October 2018 and November 2018 to the police? Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Do you for them?
Yes.
And in State Exhibit number 69, are those text messages between you and Amy Mullis in October 2018 and November 2018?
Yes.
And is that 3 pages of them? And I believe the second and third page are actually the same, just different angles.
Yes.
Now, Your Honor, I'm sorry, are these, Carrie, are these true and accurate copies, or a true and accurate depiction of the text messages between you and Amy Mullis on those dates?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask that State's Exhibit 69 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection?
I just want to check, make sure I have the same one.
Exhibit 69 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I would ask permission to publish to the jury.
Granted.
Let's see. Carrie, I'm showing you the first page that I just handed you of State's Exhibit number 69. Do you see there in the middle of the page, lower middle, it says Saturday, October 27th, 2018?
Yes.
And you write, I believe yours have a C next to them, is that correct?
Yes.
And you write, where the heck are you? And then you write after that, Todd and Tristan are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And where were you at on Saturday, October 27th that caused you to write that?
We were at a friend's anniversary party.
And who were you with?
Who was I with? My
Yes.
husband.
And why did you ask Amy where she was?
Because I thought she would have been there. Because it was for Sarah, the employer.
And would it be fair to say that based on your message, Todd and Tristan were at the party,
Yes.
but Amy never came?
Amy was not there.
Did Amy respond to you when you sent her those 2 text messages?
Yes.
And what did she respond to you?
She said, long story short, Todd's mom told me I abandoned my kids. She called me a hothead and crazy. I don't want to be anywhere near her. It's been a long 2 weeks.
And I'll show you the next page. And at the top of this, does that carry on the same message from the page we just went over?
Yes.
And did you respond to Amy after she wrote that to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said, oh, wow, I'm sorry. Hugs to you.
And then your conversation with Amy goes on. What did she respond to that?
She gives a thumbs up.
And what did you say then?
And I said, hopefully things will settle down soon.
And what is Amy's response at 8:03 p.m.?
I don't know. It's pretty tense here. Not sure what's going to happen.
Now, as we talked about, that was the end of October. From October 27th, 2018 until November 10th, 2018, did you have any contact with Amy?
No.
Did you see her at the shop or in person?
No.
And did you talk to her by way of text message or phone?
No.
Now, it says here on your text message that on Saturday, November 10th, 2018, you sent Amy a message.
Yes.
And what time was that at?
8:10.
And what did your message say?
I said, how's it?
Welcome to 4 Sugar Beet. 4. Yeah, let me do it right. Welcome to the 4 Sugar Beet.
Been going. I've been thinking of you guys.
And did Amy respond at 8:11 a.m.?
Yes.
And what was her response?
Thanks. Okay. Things still very tense around here. Just not sure of anything anymore.
And that was at, I think you indicated 8:11 on November 10th, 2018.
Yes.
Did you then, a few hours later, respond?
Yes.
And what did you say?
And I asked her if she was going to Sarah's today.
And did you ever get a response from Amy?
No.
Your Honor.
Cross-examination. Callan,
Carrie.
Carrie Callan.
Yes.
The messages that you were just referring to, the one of Saturday, October 27th, did you have any other information that Amy shared with you other than that text message that she had some difficulty with Todd's mother?
No.
So your understanding of what that issue was is totally arising from these text messages.
Yes.
And right at the end of that, when she said that his mom had told her that she had abandoned the kids, she says, I don't know, it's pretty tense here. Not sure what's going to happen. Fair to say that the tenseness is a result of the interaction between Amy and her mother-in-law.
I don't know.
Well, it comes at the end of the discussion about that though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And then on Saturday, November 10th, once again, she says it's tense around here. Do you know what she's talking about with her mother-in-law, Todd, kids, whatever?
I don't know.
Okay. Did Amy ever share with you, not in a text message, but in person or by a phone call, that Todd, in fact, stood up for her or challenged his mother about what she had said to her?
No.
Okay. Let me go back to the business of being a graphic designer for a moment. You characterize this as a t-shirt shop?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the only product that was in the store?
No.
Okay. Tell me what else?
They do different gifts for people. Pretty much any kind of apparel you'd look for, hats. We do signs. Pretty much anything kind of printing related that's not on paper. Pretty much any kind of apparel.
Irrelevant.
And if I wanted to have a shirt designed and have
You
some
have to say
emblem or
objection
saying on
first,
it
Mo.
from my
You
law
can't
firm
just
or
be
whatever,
blurting
I could
out
contact it,
random
and that could be developed.
legal
Yes.
words like
Whether
irrelevant.
it was a photograph or a saying or anything, that could be designed and
I don't understand why he's asking these questions.
There has to be a
Just to
reason.
talk.
Do you recall ever doing that for anyone in the Mullis family?
Yes.
It-
Yes.
Like, do you remember what it
A
was?
logo.
Pardon me?
Logo and signs
For the farm?
family. Yes.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You can step down.
What? What does that have to do with anything?
See?
She looked just as confused by him asking that question, and we all did.
I think he just wanted to cross-examine her.
He wanted to know if she does signs and stuff.
Maybe he's looking for a deal for his law office.
Well, he probably needs to look for something else, like a new job.
Well, he's not a public defender, right?
I don't think so. I looked him up on the website, and it didn't look like it. They even
Okay.
brag about doing high-profile cases that are televised.
Oh, because of
I don't
this
know
one.
if it's. Yeah, I think it's probably because of this one, but I'm not sure.
I feel
And
like
also,
it probably
did any of
is,
y'all
'cause-
did any of y'all watch the Cheyenne Harris case?
No, I didn't. Why?
Because I swear the special agent that's coming up probably Tuesday, he
Uh-huh.
looks exactly like the same guy.
Well, you can Google that, right, babe?
Right, but I thought it'd be easier to ask y'all.
No, Google's
It's the
always
baby,
easier.
the baby that died
Yeah.
in the swing.
Oh, yeah. I know that case, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, I have no.
I can't follow that one.
Yeah, neither can I.
Oh, I watched all the things on it.
Because I have no self-control. Like, even in the Watts case, like, I was, like, bawling and just reading autopsies and, like, no self-control. But, like, just bawling and reading. bawling and
Gross.
Yeah.
Horrible.
It's horrible. And I just
I can't.
after the one case, I just can't, after, the boys, I can't do another case that's about children. It's just, it takes
Oh
too much
no, I wasn't
emotionally.
saying that. I was just asking if anybody.
No.
thought he
Like,
looked
I mean,
familiar.
Here I am, the masochist. I'm like, this is what I do. Is just I follow cases about children. That's what I.
Me too.
It's too hard for me to, like, I will follow them, but I won't follow it like
Yeah, no, I'm
super
all up in them.
close. I
Me
have
too.
to.
I am
don't
too,
know.
Teresa. I love it.
So the only case I think
No,
like
well,
recently
I
that
shouldn't
didn't
say I
follow-
love it. That
Well,
sounds
I know
bad,
I almost did that too, Mo, and then I was like, that sounds really flipping bad. But those are the ones that like I'm drawn to.
I am
Now,
too.
I did watch the Mo, we watched it together. The case of the mother and father and the baby, and the baby had been in foster, removed from the home shortly
Oh
after
yeah.
after birth. Yeah, that one I watched because I
Rest
knew
is sad.
it was sad, and it was, just
What case is
awful.
that?
I can't. What's that name? I can't remember the name.
Gabriel?
No, not Gabriel Fernandez. The one, it's where'd they live?
Well, then I don't know.
Yes, you do, because we watched it together, and their older son testified. They were heroin addicts. The mom was, and they took the baby away from the mom shortly after birth because she got no prenatal care, and she tested positive for drugs, and so did the baby. And the foster mom took the stand for the prosecution and bawled because she wanted that
Oh yeah,
little
yes.
baby.
That is shoot, I just saw that the other day too.
Mm-hmm. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't
And
remember.
the baby
what it
died?
is. Yes, they killed the baby. They killed the baby. No, this is an older one, like 2-3 years ago. It was on
This
trial.
is the one that they tried to say that she choked.
No, that's that young girl. She just got out.
No, this is what they ended up doing is
I'm awful with names.
they
But
never
I just saw it.
I'm trying to remember. They never reported the baby missing or something to that effect. And yes, Anita, Jessica, well, maybe you're not saying the right thing. Hold on. Let me look. Let me look at the channel and I'll tell you what it is. But yeah, that one I followed closely because of the trial. I watched the trial.
Didn't they? And they put her in a well, right?
Yes. And they had to get her, they had to retrieve. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the couple.
Yes.
I don't know.
I can't
think I know what
believe
case you're
I'll
talking
find it. I'll find it.
Oh, it's on Law and Crime, Teresa.
I know. Now I want to watch it.
I'm going to tell you. Give me
I can't believe you didn't watch Cheyenne Harris.
That one does not sound familiar to me.
The baby in the swing with the maggots in his
No.
diaper. Oh my gosh. I know you've heard of it,
I very well could have.
but I don't know how you'd forget it. Because, I mean, it's like...
I remember something about maggots in a diaper, so I'm wondering if that rings a bell to me, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm really bad with names. When you tell me like the case, and I typically can kind of remember bits and pieces of it, but I don't think I ever saw that trial. I remember something about a baby with maggots in the diaper, though.
Yeah. They just let that poor baby die. Sorry, we got off topic.
So they just left the baby in the swing,
Yes.
Yes.
and then it just
Didn't
died.
feed
It just
him.
died. They just left it there, and it just died, and they just
Yeah.
continued to leave it there.
Yeah.
Like starved them and.
And this is a baby.
Baby.
Yeah.
Baby.
Did they forget they had the baby?
No, they were on drugs.
The foster parents were?
No, they were the parents. And they had another daughter they took great care of, supposedly, but I don't know. In the
confused.
trial,
I
they
thought
say
that
different.
who was taken by foster care then?
This is a different case.
Different one.
Oh, okay. Wait.
I'm
Okay.
trying to find
Okay.
it. Two different cases. I'm trying to find the other one.
Jessica Sterling.
No, that doesn't sound right.
Baby Sterling, Anita Butt said.
That's baby Sterling is the one I'm talking about with the maggots.
Hello, Alice. I can see that you're coming over here to start trouble. Please don't. I'm telling you, she's going to meander her way over here to the laptop and everybody's going to get blocked. I'm telling you.
At first, I was looking in the chat. I'm like, where the hell is Alice? And what is Alice saying?
She's a maniac cat.
And then I was like, wait a minute.
I can't.
Kelsey Thomas was the one that I think choked.
Okay, so there's the case where a baby's taken into foster care.
Yes.
And that's the one that Jen watched the whole thing. There's
Yes.
the Diane one, which she had a baby and just left it in a swing and it had maggots in its diaper.
Right.
Okay,
And
so that's
then
two different
she's in a
cases.
documentary too.
Cheyenne is?
Yeah, but it's like women in prison documentary. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with the case, but
Okay, so baby
Groves,
baby
Jessica
Sterling
and
is
Daniel
the-
Grove.
Yes,
Jen.
Groves.
Yeah, the
there
Groves.
it is. Yes. That one I watched. Thank you. This was driving me nuts. I couldn't do it, and I was scrolling, and I was just too much.
I watched part of that trial. I almost did the paper that I ended up doing Todd Mullis. I almost did it on that case.
Yes.
But I didn't. I chose not to, so I never ended up finishing that trial.
Yeah, it was gut wrenching when the foster mom testified, because she loved that little baby and she
Oh,
was
yes,
so
it's
sad when they the Groves were given back their rights. And it was not for very long. It was not long after that they found that it's just awful. It's just those stories just really they both fascinate and haunt me at the same time.
That's how I am about animal abuse. So
I can't watch that.
I can't
Now, I
either.
cannot watch a trial that somebody did something with an animal. I can't.
Me neither. But I can watch one all the way through and get all into it if it's a child. I don't know why.
My husband thinks I'm like sadistic. He's like, this makes no sense. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I can't watch anything that has to do with Cash Gernon.
No, I can't either. And I can't really put my finger on it, but I was, when it happened, I was following it. But when when the video came out
Nope.
and all that, I just couldn't.
Nope.
Oh, I slept with my son for like 3 nights in a row.
Nope. I couldn't even watch that video. Nope.
Like after I saw that, and like I live in Canada, right? Like where I live, shit like that doesn't just happen.
Well, shit like that shouldn't just happen fucking anywhere, but that's
exactly.
No,
Right.
but statistically, it's less where I am. I don't even know of a time that someone's been snatched out of their home in like the last 10 years near me.
Wow.
But still, it shook me to where I had to sleep with them. I had to.
He looks like my youngest, and I just have never, I can't. And I think the fact that we already knew what happened to the baby when they released that video, I was like, why are we even watching this? Like, we already know, like, that, like, it's not like he's missing and we're looking for him, or you know what I mean? Like, it was just so too much for me. We couldn't do it. And then his little twin brother, oh my God, I can't. Like, there's just no way.
That
he
case
knew. That little boy knew.
I know.
I feel like he knew enough to pretend to be sleeping.
He was.
And then the brother but then I feel like he probably fell asleep, because when he woke up, he was in oh shit, well, maybe not oh shit because he was little, but you know what I mean? Like, where's my brother? And he was looking around for him and
yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope. I don't even know why I brought it up. I shouldn't even have brought it up.
Yeah, that one's
getting my anxiety going all.
Yeah, I can't either,
super crazy.
Teresa. I can't stand that case. Is just, they're all difficult cases there, but there are some, and it's interesting from a psychological aspect which cases grab which people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mhm.
Which cases speak to certain people, and I always find that fascinating. And for whatever reason, that case fascinated and horrified me at the same time so much that I didn't really follow it after the video. I was done.
Yeah, I didn't either after the video. But I
I,
don't
I
know
I never even made
if
it through
much
the
else has
video.
come out.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, that guy. I mean, they arrested that 18-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
What, Darian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's. I mean, he's just going through the process right now. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a while for him because he had to be evaluated, and I'm not sure how that evaluation went. I don't know if they're going to be able to find him. Texas is very, very, very difficult for somebody to be found incompetent to stand trial. And the case that I continuously come back to with respect to that is Andrea Yates. That happened in Texas. And despite her catatonic state, for lack of a better word, immediately following what she had done, to the point where they were asking her questions and in the police station, and you could tell there was nobody home. It was vacant, and it broke my heart for the children, but it broke my heart for Andrea. I feel very, very strongly about that case. And I remember her trial, and I thought for sure they're gonna find her incompetent to stand trial. She had all of the elements really that the state requires for it to be an insanity defense. She never did one thing at all to try to cover up her crime. In fact, as soon as she had done it, she called 911 and admitted to it. Or no, wait, she called her mother-in-law, I
Right.
believe it was, and the mother-in-law called 911. She didn't attempt to flee. She didn't attempt to stage anything. I couldn't believe that they found her competent, and then it was overturned. And she was, found to be guilty by reason of insanity, and she's been in a mental institution all this time. And ever since she um um every time she's up for parole, she doesn't try for it. She doesn't want to be let out. It just breaks my heart because, in my opinion, that could have been prevented. And it could have been prevented by her husband. When she had the first bout of postpartum depression, which then did turn into postpartum psychosis, and then the psychiatrist told her she cannot have any more children. She cannot, handle the postpartum. And then he kept at it. And of course, her being pregnant, and then on top of being pregnant, breastfeeding, she couldn't take her medication, and it was bad. And yes, I agree with you, Sugar Beet. She is where she belongs. What she did was horrendous. And she even recognizes that. She doesn't want out. She wants to stay in the mental institution. That is where she feels that she belongs, which I think speaks volumes. But I will never forget watching her story, and then her husband, and even before any of the trial happened, and they were evaluating her, and I just couldn't believe she was found, especially with the she had such a history, a very well-documented history. It was just awful. The whole situation was awful, and it could have been prevented, in my opinion. There's a lot of cases like that it could have been prevented.
that's sad.
It is sad. It is sad. It's awful what human beings are capable of doing to one another. It's just so awful. But I'm glad you guys were all here to listen to this testimony today. Although, frankly, I found Jerry Frazier unsatisfying on every level. I just can't figure it out.
Yeah,
And-
I don't know. He doesn't make any sparks fly, in my opinion.
No, and the thing is that Yeah, I'll cover that at some point, Melissa. Man, that one's a hot button issue too. Invites a lot of controversy, but
Oh yeah, Jen followed Darley.
yeah,
Darley.
yeah.
Darley.
Where Darley Routier lived is where my parents went in Rowlett to get their chocolate lab Fagin. And anyway, I watched that, and I watched everything ever on it that I could get my hands on. But anyway, I just his cavalier attitude is what really got me.
Whose?
Jerry's.
Oh, okay. I thought we were still talking about Darley. I was like, wait a
No,
minute.
I was thinking about 30 different things in my head, and that's the one that came out.
I love when that happens.
Me too. His testimony was so cavalier, and let's just say, for argument's sake, although he was, obviously we know what the end result of this trial is, but let's say he is factually guilty, okay? And to hear that testimony, if you're Todd Mullis, you know, that you were so jealous of this man, and to hear him talk and to see him and all that, and then realizing that your wife, who meant, it seems, a lot to you, or everything to you, or at least a lot to you, to be spoken about like that, as if she was just, something to do in between tanning pigs,
Right.
I mean, it's like,
And
I'd be
that's the reason
livid.
why she's no longer alive.
He actually showed more caring about his tanning beds that he had just bought, in my opinion.
Yes, he was more enthusiastic and
Yep.
emotional about those tanning beds for the pigs
Yep.
than her. And I just,
He's
I
gonna
mean,
say
his
he doesn't
responses to
remember
her
his
messages
last-
are showing that he does not, like, I don't know how she doesn't see that. Like, how she's not going, what am I doing? Like, this guy does not care.
Yeah,
Those are
he's
not
right.
responses from a guy who's like, oh my God, I'm madly in love with you. Can't wait to leave my wife and be with you. That's not what those are.
Right. At least Chad Daybell was, in his way, I suppose he swept Lori Vallow off of her. I don't get that one either, but
I
still,
don't think he was ever grounded to begin with. So
yeah, no, that's true. It wasn't hard to sweep her, but the gravel road, and it was like, I don't know. He just was really cavalier about it. And I feel like, but I will say that I find the testimony from her friends and the old coworker, Deborah, interesting, because if you're trying to keep a secret, right? The last thing you do is tell people.
Everybody in the town.
Correct. Especially Tear Bear, the gossip queen.
Oh, Tear Bear.
That's why I want to know if I think Tear Bear was jealous.
Her reactions were a little off, but so is stepmom. So
yeah,
but it's kind of weird. Like, she wants people to think that she's afraid of Todd, and I just have such a problem with that, because every one of these people knew she had already had an affair.
Yes,
and she wasn't dead. So she kept going, like, Todd finds out I'm cheating or that I want a divorce, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. But it's like, obviously not. You did it, and he did not kill you.
correct.
So I don't know why that, like, she seems to really be heavy on that narrative.
That, and he'll make me disappear.
Yeah, like, you never have disappeared. Like, why are you acting like you're in fear, and you're out in the hog barn and down the gravel road doing some other dude that you don't know him to know that he's not going to tell your husband the truth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just, I just have a problem with her talkativeness.
And they said
No wonder
she tried to say he was so possessive and wouldn't let her do anything. Well, she had a lot of friends and she went a lot of places, it seems like.
What's interesting to me is, if you're trying to keep tabs on somebody, knowing where they are and when they're there, a check is not going to get it, but a debit card would. So if you're trying to follow, if he was that controlling and wanted to know where she was at all times, right? Why not give her something that would keep track of where she was at all times? Every time you swipe that debit card, they get a location. You can have the alert sent to email, to your phone.
And right. And he said well, his first story was they had sex 100 times. That's not keeping very good track.
Yeah. I mean, she seemed like she was able to pretty much come and go as she pleased. And the only thing that he was really seemingly aggravated about was the constantly spending time at the hospital. And I think the reason that he was annoyed by that is mainly because where the floor that the people were on in the hospital would have not been kid friendly. They wouldn't have let anybody under 12 up there. So I'm just like, I don't know. There's something that's not quite connecting for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's something missing, and I don't know what it is just yet. Maybe I'll know what it is at the end of this trial, but there's definitely something missing here.
I agree.
Aside from Amy saying, and listen, I don't know whether she was telling the truth or not, but she repeated it quite frequently. So for whatever reason, her repeating it frequently was done intentionally, whether it was done to create a narrative or it was done because that is how she felt. Regardless, she told a lot of people the same thing, which is that she was, in fear of him. They've established that. What they haven't established yet, in my opinion, is putting that corn rake in Todd Mullis's hands alone. I will agree with the assessment of the prosecutor. This was definitely a murder. This was not an accident, especially hearing that forensic pathologist testimony.
I'm still not 100% with you on that one.
But when she went into more detail, Teresa, about the specific injuries and the liver that was pierced, her lung, how it popped her breast implant, that is, and her knees were, those were some bruised up knees. They looked bad.
Well, she's given a lot of oral. On gravel.
Yeah, she was just
on gravel.
Jerry.
On the gravel. Yeah. I will say this. I don't think that it was an accident, but where they don't have me yet. Hey, Lana, is thanks for coming, babe. Is they have not put that corn rake in Todd's hands yet for me at this point in the trial. And I don't
also
know.
haven't put in any reason that this woman was afraid of him. There's no history of domestic violence.
No.
There's no history of police being called to the property. There's no history of CPS calls where he's been abusive to the children. There's literally nothing in their history that shows that she has any reason to fear him except for her own guilty conscience.
Correct. I think she was setting that up as her reason of why she was leaving him.
Well, that could be very true. And I will say this, just statistically speaking, most people who are victims of domestic violence don't talk about it. But the thing about, just because they don't talk about it doesn't mean that people that are close to them don't notice. I've seen it many, many times where the wife never reports it. She never says a word about it to anybody. But then you go and you talk to her friends and her coworkers, and they will say, well, she came in, I saw her this one day and she, had a black eye, and she said it was, that she ran into the cabinet or something. There's always somebody who saw something.
Why isn't anybody asking those questions? Why isn't it the defense attorney saying, did you ever see bruises on Amy? When Amy said she was afraid of him, did you think to follow up with, has he hurt you before? Why are you afraid of him? What's given you that cause? Like, if you're this afraid of your husband, why does none of her friends give a shit?
I was thinking about that too, Trace, and I'm wondering if it is a situation where it's one thing to gossip, but maybe the way that society, they're farmers. And so maybe the whole, I don't know how to put it. They're a mind your own business. Nobody intervenes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not our business. We don't talk about that kind of thing. Maybe that's what it is, but it's somehow, some way, there is something that is absolutely not connecting. And
I haven't heard of Todd having any anger issues.
well, we didn't hear of Chris Watts having any anger issues either. In fact, he was quite the opposite.
But he was the one having the affair. In this circumstance, why is Todd not even, he's not, the guy fucking calls Jerry and Jerry's wife and apologizes to them for how he handled it.
Yeah, see, and that's the part I don't get. And then they didn't even, the defense attorney, I wouldn't have expected this from the prosecution, but the defense attorney did not ask more pointed questions about that. Well, what was he specifically apologizing for? What did he say? How did he handle it? Did he yell at you? Did he cuss at you? Did he any of that? And they should have asked that.
I agree. There's lots of stuff they should have asked. And the way he was with his son and how many times they've said super dad, I just don't see him sending his son to find his mom.
I don't either. Because the one thing that has really come across in the whole thing was that he did not want to lose his family. He worked it out after a first affair. He's trying to stick together, whether it's for the farm, whether it's for the kids. Ultimately, he's still working to make it good.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the debit card thing I think is dumb. It's because, okay, you can have checks, but you can't have a debit card.
Right.
So you can have access to all the money, but I won't let you have access to all the money this way. Like, that's just stupid. I don't even know why anybody would even believe that.
Right. And that I'm I need to know where you are at all times, but I'm going to give you a phone. Exactly. But here's the thing. If that's what you wanted to do, if that's what your intent was, giving her a debit card would actually help in that situation. You would know where she was and what she purchased. And
I think all he wanted was his wife to be at home and helping out with the family and the farm.
And I think she was tired of it. I think she was like, F this farm, I'm out.
Yeah.
Well, even on the text messages, they were like, well, clearly he doesn't care, blah, blah, blah. Well, she's still having an affair. But let's put this on him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, now, I have to disagree with you here, Truth and Transparency, because there have been many cases where that exact thing has happened, where it has been the spouse, whether it's the wife or the husband, that does have their kids, have the children be the one that discovers the body. That does happen. It doesn't make sense to people like us because we would never kill somebody in the first place. So our line of thinking is that way. But there have been many, many cases where the kids have been the one that found their parent, and that was intentional because of the other parent. But I'm not saying that's what happened in this case. I'm just saying that that's not enough of a reason for me to find him innocent.
Well, the other thing is that if you sent her to go find his mom, then why is he in such a rush to save the mom? Like, wouldn't he have made sure she was dead? Like, he wants her dead. He's trying to kill her, right? The whole point is that he's intentionally trying to kill this woman. Well, she's obviously not dead. She's now been in this barn, for the shed for a little while at least.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not dead. So that doesn't make sense to me. So why send him and then try to save her? Wouldn't it make more sense? Okay, yeah, we will call 911 and we'll let them come out here, and it'll take a really long time and she'll probably be dead by then.
That to me would make more sense. Yes.
I'm just saying, like, in this whole premeditated.
I would have fed her to the hogs.
I wouldn't have done it when my kids were right there. I would have figured out another way around it. Like, I just don't.
Exactly. Know that she's getting ready to leave and that she wants to leave and she's not happy where she's at. I would have just been like, this bitch took off.
That's why I think that she was in there texting and somebody walked in on her and got pissed right at that moment. I don't think it was planned, obviously.
And farm equipment and access to acreage, and he could have made her disappear if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't planned. I think it was
A crime of passion?
So we want to
Yeah.
know where was Jerry's wife?
Yes.
And then I also want to know where was Todd's mom?
And I want to know also where were the kids? Remember,
We
we
did. We
know
found that out. We figured out they were in the house.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
Schmida found out they were in
Oh,
the house.
that's right. They were in the house, Shmita, and what I'm saying. So then, okay, now I'm back to that part again.
So who's in the house with him?
Why? That's the part of the story
Todd's
that's
mom.
missing.
My guess, though, is that they're probably used to being in the house alone.
Yeah,
Like
that's
when you work on a farm, you're outside all the time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they said he worked all the time.
Yeah,
I
but that's not
wondered
the
if it's
point.
just like custom for them.
No, that's not even my point. My point is that before they took off for the hospital, there's no testimony. Nobody talks about them going in and giving those other two kids a heads up that they were leaving. Yeah, I get that they stayed in the house all the time by themselves. That's not the part that's weird to me. It's the part where they don't tell the kids that they were leaving in the first place.
Yeah, like, hey,
Do
something
they have
happened.
a
We gotta go.
landline? I've always wondered too if they had a landline, like
I'm sure they did.
because
Mostly,
my
man, it
thing
was
is like if
oh,
you're
sorry.
out in the field, normally like if the kids needed something, I'm assuming that they would text or call. Like it is weird that they wouldn't tell the other kids, but I can also see on the other hand how like being so frantic and scattered, like what the hell's happening, like we need to go, that informing the kids that are inside. I don't know, like because I think the brother's farm is like right beside or so I don't know.
Yeah, but
The daughter had a cell phone, I know Tristan said. And he also said that they'd stayed on their own before.
The
But I
sugar
get what
beet,
you're
it was November 10th. November 10th is when it happened.
Lana, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is that having Tristan go find his mother, that kind of situation, that scenario has happened before. So to me, the semantics that the defense and the prosecution are playing, which is either he told Tristan to go find his mother, or he told Kristen, go see if your mother put that pet carrier on the porch. They are playing a game of semantics there, because the first option has him send, if he's guilty, right, has him sending his 13-year-old son to come upon his mother. Okay. The second scenario has him looking for something else. It's not that, yeah, Amy was supposed to put there, but if she didn't, he was just going to tell Tristan to do it himself. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that that's not like a big, that doesn't mean anything to me. Him sending his kid on purpose or not, it doesn't really mean anything to me. That's not an important detail to me. The important to me is the timeline of the events. Who was there? Who had access to that corn rake? Who had the time? Because I think we can all agree that there are several people in this situation who definitely had motive, and Todd did have motive, but so did Jerry's wife. So I don't know.
I don't know. The Facebook groups say that she has an alibi or something and it checked out, but like I don't know. They really didn't investigate any other options other than just blaming it on Todd. That's where my issue is that they've shown more evidence that points to the son than Todd.
That's why I think it's important if he told his son to go check, because if his son, I don't know.
Let's say it was his son. Okay. And he did what he did, and then he went to then Todd came upon him after the fact, but unaware of what had taken place. Okay. And he asks Tristan, where's your mom? And Tristan says, I don't know. And he says, go find her. Okay. it doesn't change anything. It's also doesn't change anything if Tristan did it and then Todd wandered, came back to him and said, "Hey, go look and see if your mom put the pet carrier on the porch." And then he goes back and tells his dad no. And then Todd tells his kid to go get the pet carrier. You see
Well,
what
I
I'm
thought
saying?
she was supposed to put the pet carrier in the office, right?
I thought she was supposed to put it on the porch.
See, I thought she was supposed to put it like on the something in the office, and then they went to the office when they were done, and it wasn't there, which is how they knew that. Like, it was like, hey, either go get the pet carrier or go check on your mom, or get the pet carrier and check on your mom.
It's kind
That's what I mean. How do we know he even told Tristan to go look for the pet carrier or his mom?
Well, that's what Tristan said, one or the other.
Yeah, Tristan's the one
Exactly.
that said
That's what
that.
Tristan says.
Well, we're going to have Todd's testimony here shortly.
Well, he's not going to throw his son under the bus if his son did it. No, Lana, they didn't do a reenactment. We already argued about that earlier because we're mad about it.
Well, here's my point is at this point, none of the things that the state has put on as evidence has convinced me either way. It has not, and if you're actually doing your job as a juror, we shouldn't be making our minds up right now anyways. We're supposed to be listening. But I feel like they have not established anything other than something happened that day with the corn rake. There's no way for us to reenact that, Lana, because we don't have enough information. Let me see what the rest of the testimony is going to be. But there's no way for us to do that without far more testimony and more specific testimony from the forensic pathologist and or the autopsy report.
I agree. I think a reenactment would have been very beneficial.
Yeah, it would have, but we can't do it. We don't have the right data.
And who has a corn rake?
Well, I'm sure that Amazon carries them. I'm sure we could order a corn rake.
This is an older model. You got to remember, it was on the farm already.
Yeah, this isn't the
This
new.
isn't no like Home Depot trip. You can't just go buy one.
No, this is not this, and it has to have the handle broken. This isn't any 2018 model rake. This is probably 1992 model rake.
Yeah. And exactly, Lana, I've wondered everybody's height too, because that would make a difference.
The height, the height is going to make a difference, but but this is the part where they didn't do enough.
Todd was quite a bit taller than her. I don't know about the son at the time, but I have pictures of them like standing and stuff.
But they didn't follow up with whenever she was struck with the rake for the second time. Nobody asked, was she still standing or did it come from above? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They didn't ask that.
They just said like the directions. I think the first doctor guy said 4 were in like a downward and 2 were upward or vice versa. But then the pathologist said that there's like 3 different ways. So I don't know.
I just think the pathologist could have added a lot more than a 20-minute testimony.
Well, she can't just be up there just saying whatever the hell she wants. She's got to be asked. And the prosecutor didn't ask her, which was annoying to me too.
That's what I mean. Or the defense didn't ask her either.
And I will say this, Molson Man is correct. Her wounds are to her upper torso, which would really be indicative of somebody who was taller than she is.
How did this person get in here?
I don't know. I don't even care about it anymore. I put it on subscribers only or whatever.
Well,
because she did say that however the way that the rake entered her body was from a downward position. So the only way to have something coming at a downward position is for you to be taller than the object in which you're striking what you're striking in order for you to come
Or
down.
she was knocked down.
And then she got back up again?
You're never going to keep her down?
I don't know. I want to know where the bruise on the chin came from. I want to know it all.
Exactly.
For me, the multiple blows or strikes confuse me with the like no blood, especially if the puncture wounds went all the way through.
Well, I think in the 911 call, she says, is she bleeding? And he says he didn't see blood at first.
Like, to be fair, she's wearing a shirt. Maybe
But he
her
pulls the
bra
rape
could
out of her.
be-
I think that
I think she was already kind of like dead. Well, no, because
I think what happened is that, let's say she obviously had to be face down when they found her. Okay. And he pulled the rake out of her back.
Right.
When she was impaled with the rake in the first place, a lot of the damage was done to her, was done internally. It was her liver was punctured, her lung was punctured. So that seems to be, the blood would have been more, she would have been bleeding internally for a while, right? Because she's laying on her belly. And then when they put her in the car or the truck, that's when, and then she was on her back in the truck. And that's when she was really bleeding. So I just feel like, I don't think it would have been this big, huge, bloody scene. He didn't puncture, or whatever, whoever did it didn't puncture any major arteries or veins. And if your liver is punctured, you bleed internally too.
Do you think she would have lived if he hadn't pulled the rake out?
No.
no, because they wouldn't have been able
Well, that
to
comes
do
up. That's why I asked.
No.
chest compressions or anything with that rake still in her.
If that rake, the injuries that she sustained, no, because I believe the way that the forensic pathologist testified was that the blow to the lung and diaphragm occurred all at the same time. And I don't think that whoever did it pulled the rake out then. So, and then did it again. So no, I don't think that keeping the rake in would have saved her.
Did the pathologist say that the lung puncture was the first strike?
The way that she said it was that she referred to the wounds by a letter, A, B, C, D, and E. And I think that she testified that that 4 of them were in a row, making, or in a line, seemingly to have come from one complete blow with the rake.
Right. And Schmida shared a picture of Tristan with the other kids long before this happened, and he just looks like a sad kid to me in that picture. Which you can't tell a lot from a picture, but
You wouldn't be able to tell on these ones because I blurred out all the kids'
well, yeah, good.
faces, but these ones here, like you can see that he is quite a bit.
Lana, that's not correct. If I stab myself in the arm right now with a knife and I pulled the knife back out, I wouldn't bleed out.
Well, that's going to come up. I think that's why she's saying it, because that does come up during his testimony.
Exactly, Sugar Beet. It depends on where the injuries are. And she didn't die from exsanguination. So she didn't bleed out. She died from multiple blows to the, what did they call it, thoracic or chest area. She didn't die from exsanguination, which is what's listed when you bleed out.
Right, but the prosecutor tries to act like that's what she died from.
Well, I mean, that's not what the forensic pathologist testified to.
I agree.
So.
But we'll get to that. You're jumping ahead, Lana. Slow your roll. That's the picture where he looks sad.
Yeah. When was that? Oh, 2017. Okay. I caught it, babe.
Oh, okay. But this one makes me sad. I don't know why.
All of them are sad.
Well, all of them are sad, but it's just the
But
way
yeah.
that she's like hugging her mom and yeah. Yeah, but sometimes you have to land her. They wouldn't have been able to get her in the vehicle.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to get her out of the barn with it.
But she was wedged in there.
Yeah, that rake was going to have to come out. Whether Todd took it out or EMS took it out, the rake was going to have to come out.
That's why I was asking if the pathologist actually said which ones came first.
I'm going to have to read. It's interesting because she did not. So when she was testifying, they did not show the, oh, okay, Lana. They did not show the injuries to what she was testifying to. And when they did put up the exhibit, they weren't labeled the way that she was referring to them. So, first of all, even if I were on the jury and I was watching that in real time, she was using her finger to point, not a laser, nothing fancy. So I would have, you'd really have to be looking at the picture, the exact picture that she had, that was on display at the time that she was ordering, I suppose is the best word, the injuries. Because from her testimony, without looking at it, it's very difficult to ascertain specifically
which ones were what.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You have to be looking. I'm listen, I'm open to everything right now. I just don't, I just don't see a fall. I really don't, because especially when the forensic pathologist testified that it could have actually been there could have been a third blow.
Could have, not that there was.
Correct.
Because that there is two, and and I know she talks about the depth of them, and two of them are not as deep as the other ones.
Correct.
And that's where I think she bumps up against it.
Well, she had to have done more than bump up against
Well,
it.
not bump, but like it's like she's dizzy, she's passing out, she like bumps up, like hits it like as it's up, right? And then it falls, and then she lands on top of it, which is where she's impaled by all four. And then she isn't dead, which we know because she was still alive.
Right.
So she turns over, tries to push herself up, and can't. And that's where they find her face down.
Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I mean, it's still possible. This
is where the reenactment would be important.
Correct. Or hell, even if they had just asked better questions.
If the defense could show that that was a possibility, that would be enough for
which is why
reasonable doubt.
Which is why I asked if he was a public defender or a
We've asked that. We never look it up. I don't know why we don't. We should just look it up.
I'm wondering if the reason that they didn't have expert witnesses is because Todd couldn't afford it.
Right.
He had enough money to have his own attorney, but not enough for the attorney to do what was really necessary. Expert witnesses like that are fucking expensive, like incredibly expensive. Like 500, like 300 and up an
They
hour.
could have had a 911 expert also. Because I believe I've seen other cases where they testify as to.
Well, yeah, but that stuff costs money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but public defender offices have money to be able to spend on that kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they
Yeah, but Todd was paying for the attorney. So it's not like he's the one that's continuing to pay the retainer. Maybe he just didn't have enough money to pay for a full out
but he has that whole farm, which is supposed to be like so much money.
Well, I that's the only really legitimate reason I could see for them not hiring a defense or with
Some experts. I know. That's
yeah.
why I said if by the end of it you're going to be like, I don't understand where everybody was at. Like, why was there nobody testifying to anything that actually had substance? We have Debbie and we have Tear Bear and all these douchebags, and we don't have anybody proving anything about this guy being guilty. Just that Amy's a gossip.
I agree. I don't think he had a fair trial for his defense.
Well, I don't even think the prosecution proved it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Oh, I don't either.
So we're not there yet. We have to wait for Jen to hear the detective.
Oh, God. The Google search. I was screaming at my computer. I was like, that's not how Google works.
Oh, the Google searches and then the half cop, half forensic person. That's their forensic expert. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me.
Well, who's that? I don't know who you're talking about. The special agent that did the interrogation?
No. The one that goes out to the scene.
Oh yeah, that's the same guy that does the Google.
Yeah,
He does
all forensic everything. He's your detective. He's your tech guy. He's everything.
And he's just a deputy. He's a road cop too. And he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
I know.
Jen's gonna lose her mind.
And when they talk about the searches, oh my gosh, when they talk about the Google searches, because they haven't even brought up the Google searches in the full transparency of everything. The prosecutor tries to bring up a couple, those weird, Aztec, what happens to women that cheat in the Aztec times or whatever.
But yeah, that's so bizarre.
She purposely leaves out the ones that I'm like, I want Jen to hear. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, he's tomorrow. Yes, Molson Man, he does take the stand.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced that they had that corn rake in Todd Mullis's hands. I am saying that I am leaning more towards it was intentional versus accidental, but I still don't. I wish we did have a reenactment.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay if you think it's somebody else. I ain't mad at you.
No, I mean, yeah, because and Lana, I understand what you're saying, and I understand your frustration. But I'll give you an example. Get the discovery from any case that is a murder trial. All right. Not just the discovery. Get the documents for what the lawyers bill, the defense attorney's bill, and see how much they ask for and how much they're actually paid. There is a budget, and that's the problem. That it's public defenders and defense attorneys and just regular everyday people are at a complete disadvantage financially and with resources when they're on trial for murder, unless you're extremely, extremely wealthy.
And that's
Experts don't testify without getting paid, and that is the truth. There are some, yes, that will do it pro bono, but it's very rare, and it usually comes at the appeals time. And that's the truth. It's a messed up system. So I get it. I get frustrated by it too. I wish there had been expert testimony. This case needed expert testimony, not just on the defense side, but the plaintiff's side. It's weird. The whole case is weird. He does take the stand. I've learned a lot. And I'm very curious and waiting. It is so freaking cold out here. What kind of bullshit is this? It's like 39 degrees. Whew. Anyway, I'm glad that this is pre the vid because I'm glad we can see his face. It's so difficult to see how you need to have all the things, not just the voice and what they're saying, but their facial expressions make a difference. So I'm curious, but
Well, I'll be listening tomorrow at work, and I'll probably get off. I get off at 10:30. You'll probably still be on.
yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for coming by.
Yes, thank you guys so much. So we have tomorrow's testimony to go, and then remember, be on the lookout. If I can get it if we figure out that this trial is streaming all in, I'll tell you all when we find it, what case we're doing after this one. And I'm still doing the like Valentine's Day themed cases too. So be on the lookout for that.
Busy lady.
I'm trying to just cover a wide variety of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I really actually like making videos, but if I get too busy making the videos and I don't go live, and people like the live, so I got to learn how to balance. So, you know. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, Teresa.
You guys for being such great hostesses.
I'm so glad you can always come. I can't wait for this next trial. Gosh, I hope they stream it.
I don't even know. You're probably not going to want me on that panel.
I do want you. I want you on the panel. Of course, I want you on the panel.
Make all kinds of inappropriate comments.
Hello, I'm Jen. Have we met? So yeah, I'm excited for that. So hopefully it all comes together. But I guess I'm going to end this and tell everybody good night, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Okay, bye.